I'm in the waiting room now. Let me mute myself down. The fuck is my mute button at? I'm gonna mute down and talk to my chat. So be cool.
Well,
Check it
this
out.
is my favorite fruit
Pizza
cups.
Hut's hooking you up with 4 Lovers Pizzas for $12.99 each. Order on the app.
With Asana, AI teammates are here to help.
What's
level
up?
your
What's up?
goals.
What's up?
Try
I gotta
it for free.
hang on. Let me make this so that everybody can see. Do I need anything over here? No, I don't really. That's cool.
Expect a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth tonight.
I think there's going to be. I'm calling a rage quit. I think
will be here 30 minutes late, and
I think Tyler's going to trigger a rage quit tonight. I'm calling it now.
I mean, I might be the one rage quitting.
Yeah, you might be.
As Tyler tries to get us all banned with his jokes too close to the sun.
Are they though?
I mean, he's too close. The jokes are too close to somebody's son.
No. He might be closer to his son. He might be closer to his son than he thinks right now. He might be closer to his son than he thinks.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Son of God, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Unless that's code for what the priests are doing, you know what I'm saying? Now we're just getting these jokes left and right in here, out of the way.
Yeah, we're gonna make some stuff. We're gonna make some things happen tonight. It's gonna be cool.
We're just missing who missing? Cat should be here. Black Dory will probably be here, you think?
Yeah. All right.
This will be fun.
Hey, Fabian Liberty is in the house. Can't hear him, but he's here. Oh, there he is. Perfect.
We'll give him 5 and then we'll kick this off.
I was, I was doing the thing.
How are you doing, Scott? Is your health good?
Dude, I'm doing phenomenal. Like, it's being slowly but surely figuring out what I can and can't eat with my autoimmune disorder has been a long and lengthy process, but like
I caught a few minutes of that the other night.
Yeah, my health has dramatically increased. My emotional state from not being able to eat fucking anything has sucked.
Yeah, my mom, she doesn't have exactly that, but she has a similar thing where she can't eat certain shit and like had to like she went and tried like everything. She had like all sorts of like neuro stuff going on. They like put like electrodes in her and all this stuff. And so finally I sent her to this acupuncture lady who's also like a doctorate. She has like, I don't know, some actual doctorate in like medical stuff. But she's got like 2 doctorates in Eastern medicine. She started doing the Eastern medicine shit and changed her whole diet. And now is like, oh, I used to be a bitch because I was in pain all the time, and now I'm real mellow. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, I'm still in pain all the time because I still have a joint disease, but I'm a lot healthier in terms of my energy levels and not having headaches and not feeling like, not being bloated and swollen lymph nodes and shit. That's the thing that like, yeah, when I went on 10 pool, I was really sick, and that was kind of like my wake up call. Like, oh, dude, I gotta get this under control. I look horrible. I feel horrible. Not performing like I need to. I mean, I still absolutely bodied Connor, but I mean, that's such an easy opponent.
That's like beating up a kindergartner,
Yeah, you're like, you literally, all you gotta do to win a debate against Connor is let him talk.
Yeah, I mean, that's really how you beat all leftists, in my opinion.
just let them keep going.
Yeah, because
what is it with right-wing people? And I'm not picking on you specifically, Gibbs. And it's the left does this too. Let me stop. It's the friend-enemy distinction. I get it, but like, I just like the tribalism in politics, where like people assume that everybody on the like opposing philosophical kind of like divide, whatever you will, are like all dumb.
Well,
and
no,
it's like
not that. It's not that.
It's like, I hear it all the time. I know you're memeing a little bit, right? So I'm not like picking on you specifically, but like I hear this all the time where it's just like, oh, these rightoids, all you got, oh, like look how dumb they are, and the same thing with the other side. And it's like,
I'll explain you.
It's like, no, they're not, dude.
In my opinion, I'll explain the difference. Actually, I think that many of them are highly educated and intelligent people, but this is the problem.
Like, I'll give you an example on your own show, Enemy Charlie, right? Evil leftist. Her ideology is evil. She promulgates evil throughout the world. Very intelligent girl.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, but
and that's a twofer. She's a leftist and female, and somehow she still manages to be smart.
Well, no, okay. So, but hear me out, right? Like, I mean, Charlie, you can reason with, but like the argument that I'm making here when I say something like that is, okay, it's that most of the Republicans or most people on the right, I feel like have real world experience. Like if I talk to them, they're basing their stuff.
Yeah,
on,
intelligence versus wisdom.
Yeah, and they'll say stuff, and I'm like, okay, I can see how they've come to this conclusion. I see like where they're going on. Then I'll hear somebody that's like a pure philosophical leftist from like super highly educated thing, and they'll start spewing stuff like, and the duck, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but you're the perfect example for this. He'll be like, we need to rebuild the whole society from the ground up, and nothing is good. And I'm like, if this is actually the policy you're prescribing, then nobody's buying. And like the fact that you're actually pushing this like is good. Same thing with like Connor. You know, you just let him speak and he explains how he's actually a Nazi. And every time it works, every single time. It's not like without fail. I just you say a couple comments and just steer the insanity, and it works. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does help sometimes to give people enough rope to hang themselves. I agree.
Yeah.
Lactoid, bro, the motorcycle looks like it's been good for you, man.
Hell yeah.
I was out riding mine today. It was awesome, dude. It was awesome. It was great.
Dude, it is like a whole nother experience. It's truly liberating, actually.
Now we just gotta get grid with a beard.
No.
Yeah.
My wife, since I've been married, I barely get like more than stubble before she's like, that's got to go.
Yeah, your wife's Chinese.
Right.
Yeah, they're not a big fan of the beards.
Not what I've
especially like the rougher white man beards. They're like, nah,
they love it.
That's fucking stubble off your face.
First of all, if it's rough, y'all are knocking out. My shit's luscious, soft.
Well, it's got to get to a certain length before you can like condition it and get it like luscious like that.
Yeah,
right? Like you gotta let that grow out for a couple months.
Yeah, don't use oils. It's bad for your skin.
Dude, I cannot not use tea tree oil. I have to use tea tree oil. It is the only thing that like locks in after anti-dandruff shampoo to keep me from not being like a walking snow globe. Without tea tree oil, I'm just like who wants some garlic salt?
So
you know,
I tell you what I did since we're on our beauty tips. I'll use like if I'm ever having like really dry because Texas is really hot. If I ever get like the dandruff real bad, I'll do the Selsun Blue for like a little bit, but it's too bad on your hair for long term. So I'll do that for like 2 or 3 times, so like maybe 2 weeks, because you don't wash it every day. And then I will do after that. I'll switch to like Revlon or something and do like a moisturizing shampoo, and that like eliminates and moisturizing conditioner. That eliminates like all dandruff immediately, and it keeps it silky smooth.
All right. Salicylic acid.
Yeah.
Salicylic acid and tea tree oil, man, or I'm fucked.
I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna get cancer from the shampoos at some point, but that'll be okay. We'll just move on. But let's get the panel started. How are we doing today, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Give Me a Break. Today we're talking redistricting and illegals in the census. I think it's gonna be a spicy one. Since there's a lot of us, we'll just go ahead and give intros. Tell us who you are, and then tell us what you think of the topic. We'll start with specifically redistricting. First, we'll probably do another intro for the illegals in the census later. Was that your question, Fabian?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to. It's okay. I'll kind of wing it because my thoughts tie the two together. Yeah.
Yeah. There's gonna be overlap, but yeah, y'all give an intro in y'all's opening when we go to y'all. Let's start with Tyler.
Just unmute.
Your mic
is. Debate enjoyer. I am a Black Hebrew Israelite Moorish national citizen. My right to travel doesn't stop when your ass gets in the way, so get it out of the way. I'm gonna run that bitch over. Let's go! That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you so much, Castle.
Hey everybody, Castle. If you don't know me, I'm a center-left streamer, and you can find me on Twitter. I can give the socials afterwards. Happy to be here. I think the topic is pretty relevant based on what's going on, so excited to get into it.
All right, fantastic. Fabian.
Yeah, I am a anarcho-objectivist. That's ANCAP and an objectivist. Sometimes I do some philosophy. Sometimes I do some reactions. Sometimes I do some debates. Sometimes I do some interviews. Find me Fabian Liberty. Just Google me. You'll find me on YouTube. Please do not follow my Twitch. I haven't streamed on Twitch in like 2 years. And it doesn't seem like anybody else is actually talking about the topic yet, so I guess I'll cede my time and just let it go into the open.
Well, that's the first. But all right, Lactoid.
Zing!
I think you missed somebody, right? Or are we just jumping around?
Well, yeah, I guess we're gonna just jump around. I'm gonna go with the names.
All right. I'm Lactoid. You can find me.
He's
Lactoid
got a
TV,
list.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
I'm not on the list.
Yeah, I try to alternate here. We're gonna go to Big Circle. I also was moving Pride in when I
Unlike
was,
Donald Trump.
Yeah. We'll go to Vigilante next now just because you said something.
I'm the Vigilante TV. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. I need to stream more. I haven't streamed in a fucking while, but yeah.
Fantastic. Grid.
Yeah, I'm Grid One Motorsports. I represent the angry gun-toting, meat-eating people that, we're a small lobby, but we're powerful. And you would say that I'm right of being right sometimes, but mostly I'm just right. And I like the topic. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I anticipate at least one rage quit. Calling it now. Tyler's going to cause it. And he's all fired up about this. So you can find me at An Unreasonable Man on Twitch and YouTube, and we'll get into this shortly, I guess.
All right, fantastic. Premier Katya.
Yeah, hi, I'm Premier Katya. I don't stream, but lately I've been a filthy, dirty Discord and Reddit mod. Usually people can find me around Peace Ghost community these days, so hi.
Fantastic.
Katya, get me unbanned from that one. Thank you.
Okay. It's not just up to me, but okay, we'll try.
Well, now we're gonna personally hold you accountable. And
You're
only
banned? You, Lactoid?
I know, it's
You're
crazy.
so mild-mannered.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I'm
Probably-
dangerous.
No, I'm dangerous.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay. All right. My name's Prime. Do debates. It's a lot of fun on my channel. See a lot of the regular faces there. You'd enjoy it. Come check us out.
Fantastic. I guess we'll do intros now since I just read their names out and told us their names. All right, we'll start with Tyler this time again. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts on the petition at hand.
Oh, so redistricting. They both have access to the same sets of tools. If they want to try to pull the let's be fair about it route and that gets them more voters, or the let's be hyper partisan about it and that gets them more voters or more votes or whatever, that's the game they play. And eventually, it might bite people in the ass, because when you redistrict a strong district, and to make it so you get more seats, you generally spread your lead out. And in a blue wave or red wave election, you could completely shoot yourself in the foot. So it's a high risk, high reward maneuver. And as long as, again, they have access to the same tools, I don't see any problem with it, nor do I care much. And I just see a lot of pearl clutching from the side that's going to not benefit as much if everybody hampers down in the way California or Massachusetts did.
All right, Castle.
Yeah, I kind of agree with some of that. I think the way that Texas is doing it mid-decade is a bit of what I'm opposed to in this whole situation. But like Tyler said, you don't have an independent commission and you have the votes in the legislature on your side. I think that's just the way the country is going in that direction now, where everybody's hyper-partisan and wants to kind of own their state at this rate. And I think it's leading towards a kind of self-destructive path for the country if this continues to happen, and maybe leads to some type of reckoning. But for now, in the short term, it just seems like both sides are just going to go their own ways as far as they can, which I don't think is a great thing.
All right, Fabian.
Yeah, far be it from me to say that there was ever any civility in politics, because, the name of the game of politics has always been a means of enslavement of the people. There is no liberty under a state. But I think there is something to be said about the slow process of our culture losing social pressure. And as that occurs, you begin to see the shift take place in politics as well. And I think it really begins in earnest with like Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton, working together and making state-based politics such a federal national issue in a way that they weren't before. Obviously, it really kind of starts with the Civil War, when states' rights kind of lose out towards federalism, but, or towards the federal government, and becomes less federalistic. But I kind of agree to a certain extent with what Tyler said. I think this goes a lot deeper than most people understand. And when we kind of start talking more about the census, I can kind of like maybe elucidate that a little bit more, because I was a quality control census field supervisor for 2 missions on the census, including the post-enumeration survey. So I was in charge of most of the state of Virginia in that. And I can tell you the difference between when Biden came in during the PES and how dirty this game is and how illegals are used and how inefficiency and fraudulent the census process is towards redistricting. And of course, yes, gerrymandering being, a thing we all love to point the fingers at one party, but again, both parties do this. I think it's, there is no right answer there, though, right? Well, I mean, there is, which is anarchism, but I mean, apart from that, there is no right answer, because independent commissions are very often biased. The legislator is very often biased. Sometimes you see, when state Supreme Courts step in, they can be very biased, because, the courts are packed full of people too. And, sometimes a state might have Democrats in control for long enough, or Republicans in control long enough to where a court gets packed in many of the same ways. Now, obviously in some, they're up for re-election, they're not for life. But yeah, there really isn't a right answer to this problem, other than a return to a culture that I don't think we can return to without extreme growing pains. Like, we're in for a world of hurt for the next 30 or 40 years until we begin to limit government again and destroy welfare systems and return towards a more natural order.
All right, Grid.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that we're that was a lot of interesting comments. I guess I'm a simple man, and I see it as first of all, as the constitutional conservative, I believe that Article 1, Section 4, and the 10th Amendment both apply here, states' rights. And while I believe that Texas is absolutely pushing the limits of that with their immigration policies, which I'm sure we'll get into later, gerrymandering in this case is not about actual citizens and representing them. I believe that what we're keep talking around, what we're going to talk around all night, is the fact that we want to count illegal immigrants and aliens and people who are undocumented, or whatever you want to call it. We want those people to be counted as part of this gerrymandering effect. And quite simply put, the Constitution doesn't allow that. It should not allow that, and it undermines the very essence and nature of our country. And if you're for it, well, you suck, and you need to move on with life. And I think that's all I can really say at this point.
All right, thank you so much, Lactoid.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two subjects are related, and so it's hard to speak on one or the other, because I think the question here really is the legitimacy of the government, if we're gonna determine legitimacy here by democracy, which we do, whether that's the right thing to do or not. If we're talking about, I guess, just narrowing in specifically in the redistricting, it feels kind of dirty, for sure, right? I think it's a little bit messed up when, I saw that tweet from, I think it was Gavin Newsom, which he said, "Oh well, look what we could do to California, right? Like, we could ensure that there are 0 Republican seats in California if we get, if you guys want to play that game." And then of course the response from the Republicans is, "You guys already play this game. Look at New England, right? There's millions of Republicans living through large sections of New England, and yet they don't have any seats, or fewer seats than they otherwise should have." And so both sides do it. The question is it fair? It doesn't feel fair. I would like to see some kind of effort to address this. I don't know how it can be. I know there's some proposals, like an independent commission that goes in and draws these districts. I'm actually not necessarily opposed to this system, but it would have to be in the context in which perhaps other things that are occurring, like counting certain people in the census, let's say, that gives Democrats an edge, that would also have to go away at the same time, because you can't have one unfair system benefit, get rid of one unfair system that benefits one party and then leave another unfair system that benefits the other party. because it's going to create a kind of lopsided effect, and it's going to cause the party who's kind of having their cheat stolen from them now, they're going to be pissed off. Well, why don't you steal away his cheats too? It's a competitive system, of course you're going to see that.
All right, Premier Katya.
Okay, so yeah, I'm personally, like, if we want to just talk on philosophical bases, I'd say that I'm generally against gerrymandering in general and redistricting in partisan lines, like, as a whole, and I've always held this position because I feel like it is rather undemocratic to allow the party in power to continue to perpetuate their power just because they happen to hold it at that moment. Nobody likes when somebody has power in a democracy and uses that to remove aspects of it. I'm super not a fan of that, and I mean, Democrats did agree with me, which is why they did try to pass a bill to ban redistricting in this way and to promote doing like nonpartisan commissions in 2021, but the GOP actually blocked it, which is quite unfortunate, but now here we are. As far as the stuff that's going on with Texas and California, I think, all is fair in love and war as far as, Texas trying to add another 5 Republican seats, and then Gavin Newsom saying that we can add another 5 Democratic seats. Like, if we want to play that game, then, you know what? I'm glad that in this case, both sides are trying to play equally, so we shall see. As for the citizenship and census thing, all people, regardless of citizenship, have been included in the census since the first census in 1790. So if we want to, suddenly clutch our pearls and, piss and shit about, people who are not citizens being included now, that's a new thing that people have just made up this moment. So, I mean, if they'd like to, that's fine, but acting like it's a brand new thing that just happened is a bit strange. So, anyways, next person.
All right, Prime.
Constitution says that you'll have to determine your representatives by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years. I'm guessing that's indentured servitude, and excluding Indians not taxed, and 3/5 of all other persons. Those are the ones that look like me. So yeah, they're included. It says nothing about citizens, unless there's something else that I'm missing. But it says nothing about citizenship. So I don't know where the conversation even goes from there, right? And say it's unfair, well, it was also unfair to only count 3/5 of, black people. But in any case, I appreciate that there's a discussion about gerrymandering. It's fantastic that we are relooking those rules. It happens, of course, now when Republicans think they're at a disadvantage, and now they really care. Like Katya said, Democrats have been on this. Like, hey, maybe we should, rethink how we do this. To be fair to everyone, Republicans are like, how do we get our unpopular ideas, use that to take over as many districts as possible without actually providing for the people. So here we are once again, and hopefully with the threat that will use their own weapons against them, Republicans will wise up. They won't.
All right, thank you so much, Vigilante.
Yeah, so I absolutely think we need to implement nonpartisan redistricting committees nationwide. When we pushed for the redistricting amendment here in Ohio to do the citizen-led redistricting, which was specifically 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 independents, I actually worked on that petition to get that on to our ballot, and then our piece of shit attorney general fucking framed it in a way that made it look like it wasn't what it was. So it's absolutely a weapon that is mostly used and mostly opposed by the Republic, or independent redistricting is mostly opposed by Republicans, and that's probably because it's mostly used by Republicans. You can argue that the Democrats do it too, because in certain cases they do, which is unfortunate because it's not something that should be available to anybody. It should be made federally illegal. gerrymandering is actually specifically one of the reasons why I'm not really a states' rights person, because it allows for inconsistent rules throughout the country, like where we see with gerrymandering how you have it's technically illegal in California and certain other states, and then it's perfectly legal fucking everywhere else, which is actually retarded.
All right, thank you so much. All right, well, I've seen a lot made about specifically how there seems to be a lot of the pot calling kettle black, and there being ironic and the messaging being really bad whenever these people that fled from Texas went to Illinois, where it seems super gerrymandered. Is there any truth to this? What do y'all think here?
I mean, so look, it absolutely happens everywhere, even in places where there are independent commissions, right? Like in California and in Arizona, they've both been gerrymandered in favor of the Democrats, despite the fact that they have independent commissions. Now, in California's example, it appears like it's hard because demographics shift, right? So it's really hard to like quantify in like a perfect statistical way because of like the census, the other kind of topic here, and shifting demographics, and California has so many people move out, so it's hard to know 100%, but it does appear that it has gotten fairer, or it has gotten closer than like 2008 redistricting in California. But nevertheless, when you have an independent commission, who appoints the people in the commission? Well, the legislator is almost always appointing them, or the legislator has veto powers on the commission. And so what you end up with is an independent commission that is then skewed slightly towards the party that's in power. So like maybe it's better, right? Like I'm not like at the end of the day, fuck democracy. I know Katya, you had said something about nobody likes it when people in power get rid of democracy. Democracy is the worst form of government you could ever fucking have. So I love it when democracy gets taken away from the people, because you people are too fucking retarded to be trusted with any political power. But yeah, so I mean, like maybe it's a little better in terms of being, like more fair and balanced, whatever those vague terms even mean. But like saying, oh, we're going to put in an independent commission, it doesn't solve the problem insofar as you believe that there is a problem. It just maybe makes the problem, insofar as you believe there's a problem, slightly better.
You're right.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily solve the problem, right? That there is no perfect system to do so. I mean, you don't care about democracy in the first place, so there's that, right? But that you acknowledge that. Yeah.
I'll bite that bullet all day long.
Yeah, sure. But for the rest of us, of course, it doesn't solve it for the exact reasons that you just said, right? Like someone appoints those individuals. There's going to be a level of skewing involved. But like,
there's also just statistical
problems. The goal is to, it's tough. It's a tough situation. But the goal is for the rest of us to move to a fairer system. Acknowledge everything you said.
Well, then you have to move away from democracy. That would be a contradiction.
So again, I was ignoring that part, but like acknowledge all the other things you said. But yeah, that's the goal.
So hold on. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I want to get you.
I kind of want to respond to one thing, and I don't remember who said it earlier.
Hold on,
but
before we get too far, let me just. Iko just got here. I'll go to you right after Grid if you don't mind.
What's up, Iko? How are you doing?
Let Iko get an intro here real quick since he's walking in.
Good. You just want me to weigh in just on gerrymandering in general?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I don't know what everybody else said, but I mean, I follow this. I've been following this with my debate squad like for over 10 years. And I can tell you that the balance in the House right now is pretty darn even. The number of seats, the margin of seats that came across from the 2024 election is about the same as what the popular vote for the House was. So the balance, is there right now. So my solution is to say, okay, if Texas is going to do what it's going to do now, and it looks like other red states are going to follow suit, then go ahead and let the blue states have their trigger laws that will allow them to do the same thing. And my guess is it will shake out about where it is now.
All right, go ahead, Grid. I cut you off earlier, so now he's getting an intro.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Yeah, no, it's fine, man. I was going to get into something, but I want to stick with the gerrymandering thing for now.
So I just wanted to jump in, like what you were talking about earlier. You said your question was about New England. I would say New England's a bad example. If you look at a lot of the states there besides Massachusetts, a lot of them have such a low amount of House representatives in the federal government that mathematically, like, it just doesn't add up for them to get, like, some of them only have like 4 representatives, 3 representatives. So like Rhode Island, for instance, 38% votes Republican. They have 0 representatives that are Republican in the House. But mathematically, it's very likely that they could if they're getting outvoted 2-1. Where I would actually think the stronger argument is on the West Coast. If you look at California, Oregon, and Washington, those are the places with Oregon. 42% of the state voted Republican in 2024. 16% of their House representatives are Republican. California is 40% Republican. I think it was 38% in 2024. 17% of them are Republicans. If you look at places like Texas, it's almost like you look at their state house, it's 41% to match how many Democrats voted in the 2024 election. Their state senate's at like 37%. Their federal representations, I think, in the high 30s as well. So the worst, most egregious Republican states that I can find, I like to try to find those out of the bigger states, and I'm having a hard time finding a bigger state with those issues. Now, it's because of the what was the part of the Voting Rights Act that forces states to form majority-minority districts that's keeping some of these Republican states from gerrymandering at that level. I'm sure if they had their way, they've been going after that for 15 years. I'm sure if they had their way, they would gerrymander just as hard. The parties do not unilaterally decide.
That's what protected gerrymandering by the Democrats in California, because the Supreme Court shut them down because they said, well, no, because of the Voting Rights Act, you have to do it this way. So it's actually okay that the state is gerrymandered because it's gerrymandered in like the right way.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm sure the Republicans.
Tyler, your mic cable might be loose, man. There's a hum every time you talk.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to talk about like larger red states that are out of whack, we can talk about Florida, for example. I mean, right now we're looking at only 29% Democrats, 71% Republican, while the actual number of voters was something more like closer to 60-40. I mean, that's not as big of a gap, but that was just my first example to think of because I'm here. But I will continue to look. I know, I think South Carolina's a bit off. I will double check.
So if we want to bring up ones that are like actually heavily gerrymandered, Ohio's not considered a swing state anymore for the most part because of gerrymandering. So our congressional breakdown, we have 15 total seats. 10 are currently held by Republicans, 5 are currently held by the Democrats, and 43% of our state voted for Harris in this last election.
Mm-hmm.
So it's off by 10%, roughly.
Hold on, I don't think you can say that about Ohio, though, because if you're going to say Ohio is not a swing state anymore because of gerrymandering doesn't affect the presidential election. Mm-hmm. It's a popular vote within Ohio.
Yeah, it's just swung Republican.
It's the House. It's really just the House that we're looking at here.
But it should be, I mean, like, your argument would be more along the lines of it should be like 8 Republicans and 7 Democrats, or 9 Republicans and 6 Democrats.
Yeah, that's
as opposed to 10 Republicans and 5 Democrats.
Pointing towards.
Yeah, I mean, you can say it's gerrymandered in the House, but that's the only. But what I wanted to point out, especially with California, but this can apply to some big red states too, is if you have a very large popular vote margin, like 22-point margin of Democrats over Republicans in California, then even when you have an independent redistricting council, right, like they have in California, let's say you take an average district that has a 22-point margin, and you reduce that margin by 15 points, which would be massive reduction, you would still have a +6 advantage for Democrats in that district. It's very difficult. It all depends on what your goal is, right? So if the redistricting commission, if its goal is to create as many competitive districts as possible, okay, that's one thing. I think that's actually a noble goal. But if your goal is to make it so that each district has a margin that reflects the state, then that's not going to really balance things out. It's just going to mean that the 22-point margin that that's statewide would also be within each district. So that wouldn't fix anything.
It's also important to note, and I know, I apologize for kind of swinging to the second topic, right? But these issues are so closely linked, we have to discuss it. And it's also important to note that if you have a state with zero gerrymandering, right? Let's say it's like it was done by an AI or something, and it was done, perfectly by whatever standards it is that we presumably prefer. Value is subjective. That would be nonsense to say that it could do that, but let's say it does. And you have a sanctuary city there. Well, you're going to get a district that already looks gerrymandered because you're going to have illegals that are counted in the House of Representatives for seats that give new seats to a state, right? So if you accept illegal immigrants, you get extra power in government. The more illegal immigrants that you bring in, and so sanctuary cities are going to have a lot of people that aren't voters, right? So when you're trying to compare like districts versus how they voted in an election, that might be part of the reason why you only see like a 10% difference in like Texas, but see a bigger difference in, let's say, California, because when gerrymandering is done by conservatives, it's kind of already fixing, if you assume that it's a problem, it is in part countering the balance of power that illegal immigrants give to Democrats to allow them to have more political power.
So one
so
of the
happy.
things
I'm so happy that Republicans are recognizing how valuable undocumented immigrants are, right? We should be
well, no, it's just Democrats that use them for votes. It's just Democrats that look at them like slaves for votes,
them, right? We should be competing for as many.
I know you brought up slavery, right? So
undocumented immigrants, we should be competing to get them within your district, right? To boost those numbers, and of course, a pathway to citizenship so they can pay taxes and contribute.
Yeah, I don't think that's how
we should compete for people who commit voter fraud, because then we'll start winning elections.
As much as I really want to beat up on California for gerrymandering, and certainly the way they've done it is quite heinous. But the real reason there that they have such a problem getting. Sorry.
I would say it's kind of minor in California. I mean, it's still gerrymandering.
Yeah, the gerrymandering in and of itself isn't the problem. It's the way that they've done their voter laws and platforming so that they don't have a real primary. And it's almost impossible for an actual Republican to get on the ticket to begin with. So it doesn't really matter when someone that can't act, if they can't even get on the ticket, then they can't get any votes. So that it's just kind of a very self-sustaining system that they have there. So certainly that doesn't apply simply to the House. That applies to basically all elections in California. So it's pretty interesting. Be interesting. But they aren't the demon. Go ahead.
Who do you think the Democrats are running against during the elections in California?
Democrats.
That's not how elections work.
You not understand how it works in California?
You don't run against the same.
California doesn't run two primaries.
Republicans don't bother to run in a lot of places.
They don't.
Well,
they don't
Sometimes
run.
Democrats will eat each other's votes up, and then a Republican can come to the top too.
So
it's possible, but you're never going to see that like in certain parts of California or New York City, for example.
So the way it works in California is that it's a single primary. So you'll have 4 candidates, right? 2 or 3 of them will be Democrats, and you'll have a Republican. The Republican will not get on the ticket to start with. So then you just simply have which Democrat do you want to vote for this year? That's the way it works.
Yep.
And that's evil, and that should be changed.
That's
why
like quite how.
I'm just curious. I'm just curious why you believe that's evil.
Because I think that you should have opposing parties facing off in the actual election. You shouldn't have you shouldn't be choosing 2 Democrats or choosing 2 Republicans. So if we put this on the other foot, if we said we're going to have just 2 Republicans, I would say the same thing. I'd be like, I don't like that. I don't want to see that.
But what is it about having a D or an R next to your name that somehow makes it less evil? Like you have 4 people running, right?
Well, sure.
I mean, you can make that like argument. A big left-wing state full of a bunch of commie retards, right? And then they get to choose between, which 4 commie retards they want. Right, like why would it be less evil to have a right-wing socialist that that's like barely a Republican so that he can get Democrat votes? Is it less evil because he has an R next to his name? I don't know. California's just kind of a hellhole of their own choosing.
Yeah, I understand. I guess you just kind of have to look at the whether you believe in a 2-party or 3-party or 4-party system versus a single-party system.
Yeah, I just don't see any morality in a winner take all 2-party system. Like there's like it's just a violent system to choose who gets to oppress you.
Let me get away from this a little bit. I want to ask questions.
I'm sorry.
I posted a photo in the it's not a photo, it's an article in the back room right now, and it shows the.
It's got a picture on it.
Yeah, it's got.
I'm more likely to read it when it has pictures.
It's got lots of pictures. It's got interactive maps, actually, really cool. So check it out.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it shows the different redistricting plans for Texas, the current proposed one. And I've seen the meme one going about, about like what Illinois is drawn like a crayon, or like a kid drawing a crayon did it with the little scorpion tail in one district. Do we think like the fact that we're combining portions of 2 cities to make this is like not like a correction? Do you think it's like not a correction? Do you think it's like bad that these shapes are kind of like oblong or weird, or combining 2 different regional areas to get somebody represented? I don't know. What do we think about this? Does geography play a role? Does it matter? I don't know.
Honestly,
Yeah, just looking at it, like fucking the proposed legislation looks less gerrymandered.
Yeah, honestly,
it's not,
if I was a
but it looks
layman
less.
that just looked at this map, I would pick the right map because it looks like, oh, they actually tried to do the districts locally. There's the one in Houston that's a little weird, but other than that, they're much more connected. Like that one in Austin in the previous map looks like the fucking tip of Alaska.
Well, it goes. So the reason I bring this up is because this is actually a local issue here, right? I live in San Antonio. I don't live on the side of town that's in, but they're like this guy's really representing Austin. He's not representing our local people, and they're like. So that people there are like, well, do we want the redistricting? They're like, it'll represent us more locally, but we're gonna lose probably elections, kind of. So it's like,
Tyler, the Republicans made that district. It wasn't Democrats picking where the district was.
Yeah, I wasn't blaming. I'm just saying, as a layman, if I were to look at this,
So they're fixing it. They're fixing the districts.
Yeah, if I was just to look at this as a layman with no previous knowledge, I'd pick the map on the right because it looks like it's less gerrymandered.
Yeah, they're repairing the damage they did before. That's all that's happening, right?
Yeah, if you guys want to see some really fucked up districts, I put a district map in the same chat. In Florida, we've got straight up districts that are not like a contiguous land mass.
Does it have a map that I can play with?
I just put a map, or a little bit of a map, in the chat. Yeah, District 14 has 3 different landmass areas as part of it. Well, 3, potentially like 5 actually, if you count those little coastline areas. It's a bit ridiculous, and that was done, obviously, to chop off the Democratic area of District 13 and put it with District 14 that was already a Democratic area. But I'm salty about this, but yeah, it looks fucking ridiculous if we want to talk about geography.
I mean, it kind of looks
like talking.
It looks like they just grabbed the coastal regions in one area.
Yeah, I
like it looks perfectly normal here.
Doesn't seem too crazy.
Like, talking about like looking at shapes, what you guys were bringing up.
Because they just grabbed the whole inner peninsula in one district.
They didn't, but
like,
it didn't used to be
it's
like
a
that.
matter, but geography does matter, right? Like in terms of, like there are some areas that are just lightly populated, right? And you got to like reach out and grab them, right? Like from one district to like all the way across this landmass to grab. So like just on visual inspection isn't enough, right? Like what our friend Aiko was trying to tell us, what are the goals, and what's terrain looking like, what's the population distribution, all that like factors in. So it can be, it can fool individuals, but I think for the most part, right, most places are more well populated, right? It's easier to see these things when you're looking at like a heavily populated district or area, like a city or something, and then you see all like the craziness. Like, why is that happening?
Well, I actually agree with you quite a bit on that, but just using the Texas one, do you agree that this is a problem when you have like 2 actually populated areas? Like you have a major portion of Austin, and then you have a major portion of San Antonio. These are very unique local geography issues. Do you see why I'm kind of wondering, like, it'd be one thing if we're talking about like the islands, like on Katya's map, if there's like some like island with 50 people on it that you need to pull in to like a major thing. I don't think that's exactly.
You don't know
what's
the
happening.
area. Nope.
Yeah,
That
I
is
don't
too.
know, but
You cut off half of a major city and shoved it with a second major city
Right.
like that. That was the
But
problem.
yeah, but I mean, I was using more like for Prime's example here. Like, yeah, like like if I was gonna take Corpus Christi and I put like Padre Island on there or Port Aransas or something on there with them, that that would be fine, right? Because there's like 1,000 people and they're probably governed by what happens in Corpus, right? But if I'm like talking about like a third of San Antonio and like 40% of Austin, and then just this like string that attaches them, I don't know. I think that's gonna hurt them locally. Do you disagree with that?
So, okay, I don't know how the
I
current
don't know how these were
map.
made originally.
Sure, yeah. I don't know the history of how the current maps were made. It could be the case that the current map is also quote unquote unfair, right? But like it's less unfair than the new proposed map. So like it could be that neither of these options are necessarily good in terms of like how Aiko and I would describe them as good. But yeah, one like more favors one party, like the new one favors a Republican party than the current one.
I want to
I
ask
think-
real quick, since before we get off too far off the Texas topic in specific, would it be considered insurrectionary to take action that delays a state-sanctioned vote? Like leaving
Under
the state
some definitions, it could be.
Just wondering.
I was gonna say,
Well, he's. I don't know if you, like, yeah, he's
It
just talking about
clicks.
the fact
I
that the
got it. I
Democrats
got it, yeah.
ran away so that the vote wouldn't occur, which is.
But
I
that
guess,
wouldn't be violence.
technically
Though. I think
illegal, but
violence is
whatever.
part of the.
I mean, do you think that there's a legal reason to go get them? Like, how would that hold up in court if like the FBI intervened on behalf of Texas?
They tried. Well, they floated the idea, but not in Texas. They floated They floated the idea in Oregon when it was the Republicans who fled the state in order to stop a vote. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the court said the federal government couldn't take action, but that Oregon itself could try to arrest them and drag them back.
Can we
to
just
Oregon.
get rid of whatever law says that a certain amount of people have to be there in order for you to vote on something? I'm sorry, like, why is it a power that either party can like leave and refuse to show up for work, and then they can't vote because not enough people are there? Like, if you
You're talking
refuse to
about
be there, then fuck you, you abstain.
Yeah.
I could
It
see
was
you know what I mean? Like,
because-
I would have walked out on that fence. I can see why that fence.
Like we have cars and planes and helicopters now.
Probably
and
to
all these
avoid
people
sneaky
are
shit.
all these people are using insider trading and day trading, so they all have enough money for
Yeah, but
fucking
if-
helicopters anyway.
If they schedule the vote at like 3 a.m. or do some sneaky shit where it's on a holiday
so
or it's
long
at
as-
random and they vote with
Yeah,
like
no,
3 people there who are like, hey, we're gonna do that then.
Yeah,
then
no,
what happens?
then just get rid of that, right? Just say that like all votes have to be during normal business operating hours on Monday through Friday, not on a federal or state holiday.
they
Done.
will
have a certain notice, maybe, I don't know.
So hold on.
Yeah,
what's
with a
wrong
certain
that
notice, right?
Well,
It happened in
is they
Georgia.
already
I
have
think
that.
that fixes the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, but they already have that. They already have that here. But what he does, what you do as a governor, is you have a special emergency session, and then, which is like, oh, we're gonna have like, oh, like you would use it for like, we're going to war, or oh god, there's a natural disaster. But they'll be like, this is a national emergency. They'll just declare it. That's kind of what's happening right now. And so then they don't have enough
Yeah,
people
give
to get
everybody
quorum.
48 hours when they hold a
doesn't
special
matter.
thing, so long as it falls in those days, and you either are there or you abstain.
God, right? I'm
Democrat
I'm
or
your-
Republican, I don't care.
God, I'm your commie governor, right? And
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sabotage the Republicans, and so I like using my state power. I capture the Republicans, the Republican senators, right? I hold them up in a room, right? I give them 48 hours. Hey, you got to be at the Capitol, right? In 48 hours, we're gonna have a big important vote there. Oh, you couldn't make it? Oh well, I mean,
I'm
but it
not.
was-
This is a stupid analogy. He's already kidnapped people. Like that's already a whole nother violation. Of
I feel like any
Right.
governor. I feel like any governor that would do this would probably not really care about like the vote of
like
of these bodies anyway.
Imagine we live under. Imagine we live under a communist
Benevolent
revolution,
dictator.
No,
but
no.
then this won't work that well.
She's like, I'm
No
gonna
shit,
kidnap people
Sherlock.
But I
No,
will
no,
respect the
hold on.
vote, no matter what
I
it
called
is.
myself
It's like,
common because that's what you think I am, right? So I was playing into that. But the point is
Fascism.
that-
It doesn't matter. It's just all
Okay,
another form of
whatever. The
socialism.
point is-
Hey,
hold on,
there
hold
have
on.
been
Of course
fascists who have been
it matters.
outvoted and ousted. I
It
mean, look at
matters.
South
It
Korea.
makes perfect sense for exactly the reasons I explained, right? The bodies have to actually be in the building, right? Giving all those other stipulations does not say there is enough bodies there to make sense, right? So yes, you actually have to be in the chamber.
This is cope.
The most easiest way.
It literally requires a fascistic governor to fucking stage a coup in order for it to fucking work. Well, if he's staging a coup, guess what? We're already in a whole new territory of a fascistic governor staging a coup. Like, it's a silly argument.
I mean, that also allows things to be scheduled during events or things that a lot of people would be at of a certain party that could be kind of, biased as well.
Yeah,
as,
I mean, they could do something fucked up like schedule it during the RNC or something, which I said make it a 48-hour notice.
Hold on.
Yeah, but
you have a special, special.
You're saying that, hey, like it might be the case that executive power might undermine things, and like, oh well, I guess by that point it's too late. But the whole point of having these protections is to make it as difficult as possible to do that.
But it's not a protection. It's not a protection just because you call it a protection. It's just a means of people running away from doing their fucking job.
And solves the problem. Right? Like,
I'm sorry, but if you're already a piece of shit fucking politician, right? Then like I don't give a fuck about your goddamn
That was redundant.
life. You should
Scott.
be in there. You should be in there. Yeah, I know.
Sure.
You should be in there whenever the fuck you're supposed to be there. Republican,
True.
Democrat, otherwise.
But I just feel like the
let me-
current
let me-
system
I
is
just-
less easy to.
Let me just reframe Fabian's question just
Saying,
a little bit.
it's
from
happened
a
multiple times now where
I
people
think-
have fled to another state to try and stop the legislative process and then chanted about how democracy matters while intentionally circumnavigating the concept of democracy. And I'm saying get rid of this stupid fucking loophole.
Insurrection.
So hold on. I just
For another
want to frame it
loophole.
from like a non-libertarian standpoint, real quick too, because I think there is something interesting about what he's bringing up, right? And
This isn't even libertarianism. It's just
Sure,
normal.
but like some of it, there's some of your philosophy is definitely involved in this a little bit, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when I'm looking at this, like right now, right, I've seen people argue, okay, you're elected to do something, your job is to be here, right? And then if you leave, and you're technically breaking like house rules, and you're technically breaking the law because now there's a session that's been on the books, and you're breaking quorum or whatever it's fucking called, like by not being there,
It's
even though
true.
you're supposed to be there. Is it not say something to like your like people that elect you, like, hey, I elected this guy, and they're not even there to do their job, and instead they're trying to use like a technicality thing that's like actually illegal? Is this like what we like?
Well, I'm just saying, don't even make it a law. I'm saying,
that a
like,
bad
don't
thing?
even make it a law. It's only illegal and only
already
like this
policy.
legal issue because we have these rules that say that if enough of these people collude together to try and flee, then they can stop the government from functioning in this aspect, so that they can get the media on their side and get people outraged, and hopefully
Well, I guess
the
what
other
I'm asking,
people
if the
will
rules on the
stop doing that.
books-
Well, I'm saying,
and
like,
it's like
just
a
make them
bipartisan rule,
abstain.
like, if the Republicans
Your
did
vote
it
is
in another-
is
Well,
neutral.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like it's already a thing, and if say Republicans did it in another state, and like it came up like ICAO said, right? And they're on the books. There's a law for quorum, right? You have to have a quorum, then you have to have these people here, and if you don't come, you're breaking house rules, and you're also breaking laws. So we've established it's a bipartisan thing across like states. I mean, now whether or not it actually is one thing, but like just for the sake of the thought exercise, okay. And now you've been elected, and you choose to leave. Is there something to be said to that being like not a trend we want in politics if the goal of these laws to avoid people interacting with our government in this manner? Like, because it feels to me that's why we have those laws in the books, is because we want the people there to argue about
Speaks
the
to my
policies.
intro, right? Like a lot of these rules, a lot of the like gerrymandering or, pork in legislation that were, a part of like before the good government movement that were kind of like a way to get legislation passed, or, people running away from their state to try and stop a vote from occurring. That these things did not occur to the same degree in the past. They did during certain periods of our history when we were, more when we were in similarly politically tribal times as we are today. But by and large, because there was a culture and socialization, and there was people that would be like oh, this politician doesn't do his job, he's a piece of shit. It doesn't matter whether or not he's a Democrat or Republican. Now we live in a world where you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want, and so long as you have the right letter next to your name, and I think Trump went full speed ahead with this idea that so long as you have the right letter next to your name, we don't really give a fuck what you do, so long as you have the right letter. And like, and so some of these rules that like may have been made in the past, right, to avoid problems, have now just become loopholes to be abused, because we don't live in the same culture that we used to live in.
So
the laws are the same, but the culture is
kind of a
different.
catch-22 on this, because if you think about what happened in 2003, this same scenario happened in 2003 in Texas when lawmakers who were Democrats fled the state. They went to Oklahoma. They had to be
It's happened a couple of times,
basically pressured to come back in, because back then there were much more swing districts in not only in Texas but across the country. Now what gerrymandering's basically done, not even from a federal level but state level, has entrenched Democrats even further in, so their politicians are even more extreme. So now it's going to be even harder to get Democrats to come back to the state like they have in the past. So it's kind of one of those things where the more you gerrymander it, the worse it's going to get. And now you're not going to have the chance for Democrats to even come back.
The difference if it's gerrymandered to get the people back, right?
No, he's
Like,
right. If you live in a 60-40 district, right? Then you don't need to be a center left neoliberal. You can be like a part of the squad. It doesn't matter because you're a Democrat and your district is 60% Democrat. So even if there are center left people that like choose to vote Republican, it's still not going to make a difference. You're going to get elected. So the more gerrymandered. But the problem that I have with that is that gerrymandering.
Hold on.
That's how we get Republicans who are
The problem I have with that is that that's not
Gerrymandering
necessarily
does
true.
is it
It does the
creates
exact
more
opposite.
districts.
It creates places that are 55-45 instead of 60.
You guys are arguing over this. I want to talk about the repercussions of getting rid of this policy. Let's say you get rid of this policy, you can just run a vote with however many people you have in the House at that current moment, because there's no restrictions on it. Then you have the party in power with 6 people in the House run a vote and pass something when the vast majority of people aren't in. The base minimum of having.
Why would they not be there?
They might not be
Well,
there
in the
because
case
of
in
obligations.
the case of
Give them notice.
the case of North
Make that a
Carolina in
requirement.
2019,
Yeah, like I said, give them like a 48-hour
was
notice.
because of the 9/11 memorial. They attended the 9/11 memorial like people in that legislature had done every year, but this time around the Republicans secretly stayed in town so that when the Democrats went to the memorial, they could hold a vote that was not announced. And it was because quorum there. They had a quorum, but it was
silly. I brought up a point that like any rational American would recognize that this is a loophole that people are using to gridlock the government, and then people are like, but what if, and it feels like some of you guys are arguing just to fucking.
Let me speak.
It was a loophole that they used in order to.
Maybe we need a 72-hour fucking window.
There are quite a few
Silly, like the debate has turned into something off topic because you guys just want to argue to argue.
This is a direct answer to your question, which was why do we have quorums?
Let's go. Go ahead, Kanye. Go ahead.
No. He can finish and then I'll go.
That's all. It was a direct answer to your question, which was why do we have quorums? And we have
I'm not asking
quorums.
for the historical reason. I'm asking why is this a necessary thing?
Historical happened in
It's not.
2019.
We talked about it.
Yeah, it happened in
What
2019.
Scott's saying is that what Scott is phrasing a proposition in the form of a question here, which is like, why do we even need this thing? Let's just replace it with you don't need quorum, but we give like a 72-hour notice, and if you don't show up, you're not doing your job, which is a pretty, when someone says what's the deal with airline food, they're not actually asking for like the history of airline food. They're saying
it also requires a two.
That's how we answer this question,
right? Constitution.
Well, I understand that's how you're answering.
Let's go to
Right. So I'm going to just say that
the libertarian is the only. Weirdly enough, the libertarian is the only non-autistic person here.
Guys.
You're all being
There are
fucking
many
autistic
holes.
except me.
Hold on.
There are so many loopholes, right? There are plenty of different loopholes, and like every single way that you try to slice it and dice it, for the most part, it's either going to have a loophole or we're going to have another consequence. I prefer the quorum loophole over the backdoor loophole where, people do secret votes and do something. Even if you give notice, I mean, people get around
than
that.
the loophole
because
that I immediately said we would not do. You're just adding a new problem so that you can protect the current loophole that is favoring your politics.
Stop.
And it's
So
so
it's-
transparent, and it's such bullshit.
It's favored other people's politics in the past, but my point is, it's better that loopholes don't allow a vote to happen than potentially allow a vote to happen that is, some secret unfavorable shit, because it's harder to undo it than it is to redo it later.
Totally depends what the vote is, right? A lot of
If
those
we're going to talk
times-
about that, we also have we don't want people to just get, because if we're talking about divide and cultural problems, if people can get arrested and people are getting arrested, I feel like that'll just exacerbate cultural problems if people's legislatures are getting arrested.
Yeah, except I'm the one saying we shouldn't do that. You're the one in favor of that system.
What was your system? I talked about everything you
Let's
mentioned.
stop trying to always fucking interrupt and moderate when my side's winning. All right, let me get this out. The Republicans, they passed legislation, okay? And the legislation says no health care for all trans associated health care is illegal in this country or in this state, right? Hormone replacement therapy is illegal in the state of Tennessee. We're getting rid of it, right? Tennessee is one of those states that really likes to go hard on the trans issues, right? So they do that, and then there's an election, and then Democrats have the majority, a slim majority, and then all the fucking Republicans leave, and they say, "Fuck you, you can't vote now because," and this law has to stay on the books that deny HRT to all trans people. Your position would immediately fucking change. You're being a transparent sack of shit.
Yeah,
right now.
How do you know that? Nope, because what would I say? Go arrest them? No.
That's the current system, is that Trump may have to arrest them.
Okay,
because it's a law, and it's a dumb one.
People will roll up eventually. Just wait on it.
Well, okay, so this is kind of what I'm looking at, right? I think it's kind of adjacent to. Hold on, we'll come back. I just want to end this.
What if they don't?
Hold on, I want this concluded with the.
I'm sorry I made the panel go in a different direction because these people want to argue on dumb shit.
No, this is fine. Actually, I do want.
It's okay, Scott. I actually agree with you, and I'm on the other side.
I do want to answer this because I feel like you are touching on something pretty heavy here that's adjacent to what you're saying, right? And this is. It seems like we've established in several states, at least. I don't know if every state's got it, but you brought up the example. I brought up the example when it happened with the Republicans. They had quorum laws, and it was a problem, right? And we've established Texas has quorum laws. It seems like we've established that we don't like this if this is not a loophole. We actually have a law in the book to stop this from being a loophole, right? I was wondering, I guess, is if maybe we should go the opposite way with it and make the legal consequences greater because we want to encourage this not to happen at all because we want legislation to happen. Is that something that would be, and there would be more bipartisan across the board?
Because then Democrats and Republicans could use this to make themselves look like political martyrs. They'll make a whole photo op of them getting arrested and getting punished. When what we really should do is be like, hey, you have 72 hours on this vote. If you don't show back up, then your vote doesn't count. And then they don't get to have this whole photo op where they got arrested. And the
they're doing that anyway.
That's what I said, and you said you disagreed with it.
We're gonna go to Grid, then we're gonna Prime, and then we're gonna go to Vigilante, and then we'll Tyler.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Grid.
And actually, I really want. I was gonna let Scott finish earlier, and then you guys took it almost in a different direction and came right back around. Yeah, we already kind of allow Scott. We already have kind of what you're talking about go on, but the reality is that the enforcement of it is not what it should be, right? We have, and actually in the absent, in the opposite, right? So when if you look down the list of congressional votes, you'll see who abstained, who wasn't present, or whatever, and they're just basically giving themselves an excuse so they don't have to. Their feet can't be held to the fire politically later. And I think that's irresponsible for a politician because you got elected to take stands on these issues. You got elected to represent your constituents on those issues. And so I would go even further and say that if they, honestly, if they didn't show up for a vote, then sure, man. If I don't show up for court, there'll be a warrant listed for my arrest. And a congressional vote or a House vote or whatever is far more important than me going to traffic court. I don't understand why we don't have warrants listed for politicians who miss votes.
I think that's
the FBI going after them.
Yeah, absolutely. U.S. Marshals, actually.
So
it shouldn't be. It should be a state problem.
interesting comparison you just made there, Grid. Like we see Congress, like federal congressmen and senators, like miss out on votes like House votes all the time, right? And it's like you guys can just do that. You guys can just like fuck off, like not even bother. Like they say have enough for quorum, but like lots of them just don't show up. So what if there was a consequences attached to it? I'd have to think about it to see if that's something I want to support. But I think it's interesting just to say that, like, hey,
It will stop Ted Cruz from going on bullshit vacations.
When we are trying to, when we are trying to, when we're supposed to perform our civic duties as normal citizens, right? We're under the threat of arrest if we don't. So I have to think about what you said to see if I want to support it or not. But I think it's just super interesting. Anyway, Scott, what about emergency votes? Right. So we got to schedule an emergency vote.
Okay. What would be an example of an emergency vote at the state level?
Whatever.
I want to go down right now. With the redistricting. Yeah, that's
why is that an emergency? Why does that can't? Why does that? Why can that not be done in 72 hours?
I don't know why that's an emergency.
That's what.
Because I mean, hold on, pause. I'm assuming your critique is, what if we need to vote on something right this second, right?
Yep.
That's your critique. So, what example would require the state legislator to change the laws of its state within a period quicker than 72 hours?
Newt goes off.
Because I can't think of one that isn't just straight up something scary and fascist.
Newt goes
why
off
would that
like
be necessary?
Hurricane funding. You got people standing on their roofs. You let them sit there for 72 hours while they fight. I mean, it's a bad political narrative for the people that left, but hurricane funding.
Well, no, I'm asking Prime. I'm asking Prime.
Sure. We have to free up funds in the case of emergency, especially since, like, if the idea from the Trump administration is that states should take on more of responsibility, or maybe all the responsibility of emergency management responses, right? Like, like a natural disaster, right?
Like the flooding.
If that's the case, then we might actually have to free up more funds. Okay, we had.
Why does that need a new law that can't be passed in 72 hours?
I mean, the flooding's a good example.
Like we can make a law right now in Texas that says in the event of hold on, listen, like that example doesn't work. We can make a law right now. We can give you 72 hours, and then in 72 hours we can vote on the law that says in the event of an emergency where such and such 3-letter agency determines the damages exceed this amount of money, then we take this money out of this department for that, and then that is a power pursuant to that individual. And then if and then we can, within a 72-hour period, when something occurs, we can vote on it differently.
Sure.
There's no reason for the state to change the laws of the land, and it needs to be done in an emergency situation. That's Palpatine shit.
I can think of a literal example right here in Texas where this would be useful, right? Would be the flooding we just had. And there's more flooding on the way, and they go, oh, it's going to happen within like 24 hours. We know it's more coming, and we need a budgetary allotment, and we can actually have temporary sirens.
That needs to be done ahead of time.
I know. It's all well and good.
Isn't this also an argument against quorum, though? Because, like, what if you can't get quorum by the time an emergency happens? Wouldn't this be an argument for getting rid of the requirement of quorum?
Because everybody fled the state because
I don't like this emergency.
So it doesn't. This is actually an argument against quorum as well, right? We should just get rid of quorum because in an emergency we got to take the votes we can get, right? Because it's an emergency.
Fucking lawyer.
Lawyers do
have
an insight
I'd
on
say
law.
that in any case, no. But here's the thing. I'd say that to my response to you, Lacto, and I think that's a fair point. My response to you is that, like, what Scott is proposing adds more layers of rules, right? Like, it has to be, like, we have to hit more criteria to accomplish this one thing, right? So that it introduces more complexity. I think
it just changes the
quorum
criteria.
system is the
just changes it to a different one,
right? Like, it's not that it's a perfect solution, right? Because of the things you just said, right? I don't think it's a perfect solution, but I think the opposite, or the other one, proposed solution, also it just comes with its levels of complexity.
If I could speak on that, wait, real quick. Let me speak on this briefly.
That's nonsense.
I've been listening. I mean, I actually agree with Scott a little bit, because what it seems like is that here is this problem that I think if we all sit down and think about, it does again, sort of like redistricting, seem like a little bit bullshit. It feels a little bit scummy, right? If you have this kind of opt out where it's like, oh, we're going to lose this vote because the people of the state have spoken and have elected the other party, and so we're going to lose this vote, and so we can do this thing to stop the vote from happening by fleeing the state, right? And it's
call
like
it democracy.
and then call it democracy. And the question would be like, this to me really just feels like a loophole. And so what does like Scott's proposal do? Well, for any kind of like state vote, it requires like 72 hours notice or 48 hours or whatever kind of hours we want to give it, enough that any sane adult, that ideally we'd only be electing sane adults, okay, that
Or
any
lives
sane
in the
adult would
state.
be able
that
would be able
I
set you guys up for that one, I know, that would give a sane adult the opportunity to go and do their job, and if they don't do it, then they're simply tallied as absent. I think this is like I don't actually like. I'm very hard pressed.
I would even add one more thing. I would add one more thing. I would add one last sentence. I would add one more thing to this.
Can I just sure? Can I finish my sentence real quick?
Sure. It was against me, but sure.
No,
I don't feel like the supposed problems that you guys have suggested don't actually seem like problems, or they seem like problems that a quorum would actually further exacerbate, or even like a theoretical problem that you could come up with would be so astronomically rare that this situation would be less common than the current problem, which we already have multiple examples of people fleeing the state to avoid a vote. Which, I mean, that's kind of fucked, right?
But I think we have to bring it back a little bit to just why they're fleeing the state in general. They're fleeing the state because Republicans are doing something that isn't supposed to be happening right now. It happens every 10 years, and they're like, hey, it's an emergency now.
Yeah.
Because of why? Because it's just totally a partisan way to grab more seats for them. So I don't know why we're talking about Democrats. Like, what's the emergency here?
We got to partisan-proof this shit, right? And that's kind of what our proposal does.
Emergency is a subjective.
Here's the thing.
Well, not after Republicans get their shit through.
Hold on, I just want to, we'll go to Vigilante because I haven't heard from him in a while in a second, but I do want to say I'm very disappointed by conservatives right there. Y'all missed an epic one-liner. He was just like, they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, and the answer is, winning. That's what y'all should have jumped in. Y'all failed. But, okay, sorry. Vigilante, go ahead.
Okay, Gibbs.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna. This is one of the rare instances where I'm actually gonna agree with Scott and Lactoid. I actually think getting rid of this is a good idea. I think generally speaking, we should, not just at the state level, but at the federal level as well, we should be getting rid of rules that allow people to just avoid voting. And when I say this, I'm including getting rid of the filibuster as well. I think it's stupid to allow people to just fucking use bullshit rules to avoid voting. And this is something that I've argued on in the past, getting rid of the filibuster. And I did it when the Democrats are in power. And I like I said I would whenever I fucking had that panel. I still support getting rid of the filibuster, even though the Republicans are in power.
We'll go to Tyler. I just want to say one thing. I think the filibuster's based, and you want to know why? If you could sit there and talk for 24 hours
Because of
straight,
Strom Thurmond.
Bro, you are a band, and you know what more power to you. If you could just.
But that's not what the filibuster is, right?
It was a deep cut. I guess nobody got it. I don't know.
But
we know what Strom Thurmond is. Yeah, the racist. You like him. Got it. But,
let's go to Tyler. Yeah.
All right, so I guess
love everybody. All right.
So, all right, the alternatives that have been offered by Fabian Liberty and Lactoid have been pretty solid. I'm not going to dispute those here. What I'm going to dispute is the end goal, which was to get rid of the partisan grandstanding that comes out of this. So imagine instead we implement your plan where you just strip them of their vote after 72 hours. What headline do you think is going to hit more for Democrats? They took away my job, they took away my ability to vote on legislature, or
no?
As
opposed to getting arrested? Absolutely not.
The
headline's going to be if you show up.
Fine. That's all I
got.
No,
wait.
It gives the appearance of like a fascist situation, so people are going to
They didn't show up when they could have.
I'm really sure I understand what Tyler's
Did I say
saying,
the appearance of? Did I say the appearance of? What
as opposed to
when Democrats try and stop democracy.
That's why I said the word both. That's why I said the word both.
Go ahead, and then we're going to Prime. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we introduced the idea of, we didn't introduce it, but we're accepting of this idea of an emergency vote or emergency whatever. It seems like it should be very rare that such thing happens in politics. Politics is a slow-moving train of discussion and in theory, intelligence, which never happens. I feel like that should be some mechanism. Again, I'm just going to go back to if I miss court, which is very important, then there's a warrant, and the police go find me, and they bring me back to court so that I can face the judge and get my take whatever punishment or merit that I have deserved. And the same thing should be done with politicians when they flee or hide or whatever, so that, I'm not saying arrest them per se, but go and retrieve them from wherever it is they are and bring them back for the vote. It's literally their job. It's what they were elected to do. And
No,
if
the
they're
guy
not going to do
that's in
it,
chat, he's a
that's
watcher.
just part of
He's
and
a
parcel,
reg.
right? There's no job that's 100% roses, and it seems like politicians get off pretty light.
I think
You
they
know,
fine
get
them
off pretty-
$500 a day for
Let's go.
however many days.
We're gonna go.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
care.
hold on. Let's go to Prime. Prime is waiting. I'm gonna get Prime in, then I'll see ICAO, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead.
Let's go ICAO before me. I've been jumping in a lot.
All right. Go to ICAO, then Prime.
Yeah. So, first of all, that's already something. That's already something that we can do, and in fact, they threatened to do that the last time in 2003. The only reason they didn't is because they couldn't find most of them, and then eventually the politicians sort of came back on their own. I think
We
there's
should
no
find them now.
way the Texas politicians are going to be able to hide for a year and a half. So there's really no threat of this vote not happening. It's going to happen. It's just they're just trying to grab headlines by holding out for a couple of months before they eventually end up coming back to town. That's anyway. That's number one. Number two is I think there's a more reasonable solution that's along the lines of what Fabian wanted, which was you can just lower the quorum to a majority, because every single legislature in this country has a quorum rule, but they don't all have a 2/3 quorum rule like Texas does. So if they
Yeah, that'd
lowered
be
it
better.
to 51, tactics like this wouldn't be able to work because the majority party would always be able to vote. And it would still stop people from, having 5 people secretly vote in the middle of the night and pass something. However, none of that's going to happen anyway because it's in the Constitution. It's been in there since 1845. It requires a 2/3 or 3/4, I can't remember which, vote in order to do a constitutional amendment in Texas. And then if that happens, then you have to have a referendum, a statewide referendum. So I just don't see that quorum rule changing in Texas just because it's such a high bar to get that sort of thing done. To me, the larger threat of all of this is all of these trigger laws that they're talking about putting in California and Illinois. Maybe we'll get to that later in New York. That says that if Texas does this, then they'll do the same thing. And that's probably the more likely solution to all of this.
So, I mean, aren't a lot of the states threatening this? Real quick before I go to Prime, I feel like a lot of the states threatening this are already fairly gerrymandered, though. Isn't that
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, California is gerrymandered.
Let me.
Well, like I said, it's
let's
not.
Go to Prime, but yeah, let's go to Prime.
It
Who's next?
is.
Go ahead, Prime.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the status of each individual state, but I guess what I want to ask there is, do you think this? You said this was a threat, Aiko, right? The greater threat is a trigger law. Are you saying that the greater threat? You mean to stop the vote from happening in the first place?
The response, yeah. So what they're doing, they've already got maps that'll get them another 5 seats in California, and they want to pass a law that says they will do that, which was going to require that they override the independent districting council, that they will do that in response to Texas, and then Illinois is looking at doing something like that. New York is, Minnesota, and I think if Virginia flips in November, like I expect it to, they could do that too, because they'll likely have a trifecta. So there are other states that would do it, and like I said, I think seats are pretty balanced right now. I think that if a bunch of blue states balance that what the red states are doing, they could end up being balanced again after this. So I'm not as sure that there's that much reason to panic over all of this. But also, if you think California is already gerrymandered, then you won't be for laws preventing it, right? You'll be fine with them doing that, right? Because it's just going from one gerrymander to another. So just let it all play out. is what I say.
So yeah, so I guess what I'm gonna ask the panel then is that I'm not sure if we've answered this yet. Is like, is there any particular reason not to, like, just squeeze out as many like representatives you can, squeeze out as many favorable districts for whatever party is in charge? Like, well, like, is there like, do you have a principled reason against it? I mean, like our friend Scott is against democracy in the first place. So
I have a more.
And for the rest of you, I'm curious, as well.
I have one that isn't an anti-democracy argument. Mine is actually a pro-democracy argument, believe it or not. And my argument is that it kind of gets rid. That's great. It kind of gets rid of the whole concept of competitive districts, and it further polarizes everything, and it kind of disenfranchises and, like, you know, makes people kind of have the wind out of their sails if they're not of the party that will win in that district. And I feel like it kind of discourages political participation, because I mean, like, you know, I'm in a gerrymandered district that is now, like, you know, it used to be swaying, now it's like, if you're not a Republican and like over 70, good fucking luck, or, you know, you don't have enough Botox, I guess, good fucking luck. So a lot of people who aren't Republican in this area have just checked out completely, because it's like, well, you're not gonna get anywhere, and there's no chance of it.
You're like,
and even if you are Republican, you check out, right? Because it means that there's no need to vote either way. Because
So,
but
I would say
I'm in Florida. What? It used to be a purple state.
Like, you're in Florida, Katja, right? And a Democrat, like, you are effectively locked out of getting anything done, right? So, like, let's say there's 100 legislators, right? 100 districts, 100 legislators, and currently there are 5 Democrats. Okay, those 5 Democrats can't do shit, right? But under a bad, like, Republican plan, you'd have 3 Democrats. Okay, well, we still can't do shit, right? What doesn't matter? Like, I think the Democrats in that state are already, like, traumatized, and well, they don't. They're already demoralized by the votes. This happens on both sides. And whenever
it's about a federal election, and it's about representing your district and what district needs are, like, you know, as through the lens of the person of the party that, you know, you are a member of. So if it's only what the other party thinks is a problem, or it's only, you know, they're the only ones representing you to the federal government and the only ones who can. I think state legislature is a different thing right now. We're talking about federal. Then I think it is kind of like a crappy thing to talk about here. And it does encourage people to move away to places where it's like a complete enclave. And then we have the Democrat zone, the Republican zone. Cut that. Even worse, though.
So what Katya says is actually the exact opposite of reality, right? So when you gerrymander, right, what you are attempting to do is create more districts that are slightly competitive, right? Like the goal is to create, like, so if you're a Republican, you're gerrymandering, what you want is like an 80-20 or 90-10 district, so you can put all the Democrats in one district, right? And then what you want is, instead of having a bunch of 50-50 districts, you want a bunch of 55-45 districts. And so what ends up happening in reality when you attempt to gerrymander that way is, yes, you have 1 or 2 districts that are not competitive at all, but you have a lot of other districts that might have been 60-40 or 65-35 that are now 55-45. And so the idea is like, oh, well, there's all of these displaced voters, isn't necessarily true.
Yeah, but Scott, which district has been gerrymandered ever flipped after it was gerrymandered? I don't think that's ever happened. Unless like whole demographics have changed.
I think it's happened. I think it's happened in Virginia, but that's only because Virginia became blue.
It happens in the case of
but that has to happen when demographics are like flipping.
Right. So
but gerrymanders only happen if you have that
I'm answering my
10-year gap.
question still. So the real actual problem with gerrymandering, insofar as I can see it, is this entire concept of we need districts to be competitive. That is a less democracy viewpoint. And the reason it's less democratic is because you go, oh, well, wouldn't it be better if we can force the map in some way so that everybody has like some say of voice in voting? The problem is that when you elect someone, they're supposed to represent their district. And when you chop up a district to try and make it a competitive district, what you end up having is multiple different cultures represented by the same person instead of a person that actually adequately represents the culture of their district. And so what you should do is you should have geographic regions that are, to the best of your ability, that might be 80% Republican, but that guy is there for those people. He's there for farmers, because his district is a bunch of farmers. His district isn't farmers and then part of this suburb and then like this little cutout of the city, and now he has to represent 3 different fucking cultures because his district was made that way so it can be competitive. Like, the entire concept of the way that we split up maps is going to piss off somebody and disenfranchise somebody, because politics is a game of violence and it's a zero-sum game. It is inherently a violation of our rights, and there's no right way to do this.
You're saying get rid of how many people are in each district. The only way to be able to do that is to get rid of the even split of people in each district, I would have to guess, because
That's not true.
I mean, that's why they include.
You'd have giant country
like
districts,
Nevada.
right? And then you'd have suburban districts, and then you'd have a city that has like 3 districts in that small
ideally,
geographic
but
area.
At some point, with some states that have really big cities and almost nobody else anywhere, you would have to incorporate the city into some of those, like maybe, or you'd have like Texas being like one giant oval of 2 districts.
There's no way to not disenfranchise people either from their district being represented by their culture or by their district not being competitive.
Right about the
There's no
point,
right
like,
way to do this. Like,
you're right. Like,
it just isn't.
Once you gerrymander, you start making the district more competitive. Like some of your red hardcore districts or blue hardcore districts. I don't think AOC would get elected in a very competitive blue district. You see a lot of these purple districts.
Maybe AOC now.
Versus moderate.
AOC's like she's gone more to the center
since
these days.
she
But like, but I get what
yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah. Like these competitive districts have purple moderates on both sides, and they like kind of vote both ways a lot of the times. And like I don't know. I see it as
So
like
you have a whole bunch of farmers somewhere that have like a rhino representing them because the Republicans wanted the victory and they gerrymandered it, and now they have to appeal to people in the suburbs and the city just as much as they have to appeal to farmers.
So what y'all are also talking about kind of comes back to the second thing that we were talking about, which is the census, right? Because I just saw a map earlier. I wish I could find it. I should have brought it up now, but it's the ADHD kicking in. It showed a map. It was DFW, and it was highlighted, and it was like areas that are with less population than DFW. It was like, I don't know, 30 states or 28 states, something crazy, right? And it's like, this is less total population. It's like, okay, well, so how would you draw this factoring in population? Well, would you give Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston, and like San Antonio, like these cities in Texas that are massive, would you give them just like, I don't know how many, we'll just pick a round number, 100 fucking seats, and we'll give them 50 of the 100, right? Like, just that one city.
That's why we have senators, man.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
I mean, but like,
that's why Madison created this system.
But this is what goes back to what he was just talking about, right? Is are you going to have this map, right, where it's like you get 50 districts in like Dallas, and then you're going to have all this area around the city where it's just like, oh, you have these massive areas where there's like 5 people in a mall, like and it's just this map that's like, I don't know, looks like Swiss cheese. I don't know if that's a better solution. How are they going to represent all of that?
But that's why we have the Senate. That's why we have the Senate, right? Like, land also votes, right? Like, it's really important. Like, we have a federal system that is not meant to represent one person, one vote. And that is why we have the Senate. And the reason we have that, and that is why we have the Electoral College that favors smaller states with lower population, or maybe states with lower population. Right, because if you are like a city liberal that doesn't understand how your food is grown, you institute a bunch of retarded socialist policies that fuck up your food chain supply and things like that. And so there's a recognition from our founders, because they're smarter than any Democrat, that they understand that large land masses need to have special favor to a certain degree because they're isolated from city politics and because their concerns are important too in ways that aren't this one-to-one democratic process.
Right? You're easily fooled because you have no way of getting news or like connecting with the people around you. Because you're in a low
rural people don't have internet.
And then, you can be taken in.
Fucking
right?
Lori Lightfoot over here.
You will vote for things that damage the engine of our economies, being the cities, right? Where the people actually work, the people that actually make this country rich, right?
Where the people actually work.
It's no.
Yeah,
Did you literally just say where people actually work?
No. There's no hate to our farming friends.
You know what,
Certainly
Mr.
not.
Gibbs? You're right. I
No, they
should
just
shut
don't
up.
work.
You're
No
right.
hate to our
Sometimes
farming
it's
This
just
is
left
this is the most
talk.
incredible thing I've
No hate to our
ever
farming
heard.
friends, right? But it's true that like the reason why this country is rich, it was because of the cities, right? It's because that's where our economy actually was, where we actually generate wealth.
GDP number go up. We don't care about the price of eggs anymore, boys.
No, you can keep straw manning that, but like you know
It's not a straw man.
You know what's actually
Everybody
true
works.
is that
That's
the
all
cities,
works.
right, are the most important parts of our economy. Period.
Honestly, I think if New York City was wiped off,
That's not
the
straw
face of the
man to
planet,
make
the
fun of
world
you
would
for
be way
using
better.
GDP as the end all be all.
Okay, be
metric.
delusional.
It's
That's
literally
great.
your argument.
I'm just saying.
What if
you
the
can't
world
show
were
me-
made of
why would it?
pudding?
Why would it matter if you took New York City and it just disappeared? Goldman Sachs disappeared. Deloitte disappeared.
That'd be a
Why
bad thing.
would
Come
that
on.
matter to the country?
That would
That'd be bad.
Maybe not. Yeah,
It
maybe
would be
not.
bad.
I can answer this question. I can actually answer this question.
Point. All right.
No,
Only people in the cities work. Well, what if we got rid of the cities?
No.
It's like
There's
some truth in the middle here.
I can actually, no. I can actually answer this question. It's really simple, right? The reason stocks and investing and hedge funds are so important to a productive economy is that they allow individuals that are able to see trends to be able to use investments for future production. And so the farmer, right? The farmer doesn't know how much of their own money to spend on seed or on a harvest, but then a hedge fund comes in and says, I'm willing to buy your corn at this price in the future because they are the ones following the corn market, etc. And that allows the farmer to be able to safely spend more money to produce more corn so that our economy can be more productive, and the hedge fund makes a profit and the farmer makes profit because the farmer no longer has to leverage risk.
Scott, I
making
understand why you
multiple
answered that
bets.
question that way because, like, Grid asked it in a weird way. He related the cities to the fucking hedge funds, right? Like when I was referring to cities,
That's
like,
part of the
that's
productivity of cities
talking about-
is technology, it's investments, it's like capital.
Yeah,
like
it's
yes,
all those other things going on, but I wasn't equating it to that one aspect of our economy. Like, what difference does it make? I mean,
I'm
the
not saying
hedge
you
fund
were.
is,
I was just answering his question.
I know. So there's not a response to you. I'm just saying it's a weird way to phrase that question to Grid. Instead, I'm there are so many other
Please. I
dynamic.
can't wait to hear your answer.
All right, to the regional dub question, yeah, you would go into a deep depression if all of a sudden New York disappeared, right? Like the amount of wealth.
The New York Stock Exchange is there.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, but hold on. But all of that information is worldwide now. Hold on. I can prove to you that this doesn't matter. I can prove it. Because when COVID, New York City shut down and everyone fled, and the world did not end.
Everyone fled.
So we have computers, like you just said.
Right?
I mean, I happen to know people that work in New York that just simply work elsewhere. They just simply work elsewhere.
The jungles grew.
But we just worked while they ran away.
Like that nukes are coming in and erasing New York City, right? That was the same thing. That's how they are able to restart.
How much wealth
right
fled
after
New York City?
A closer analogy is the one time we got part of what Grid wants, and that was on 9/11. I'm sure Grid celebrated on 9/11, but
Jesus Christ!
I didn't celebrate.
Yeah, people was running in.
The result was a multi-trillion-dollar war effort that everyone now agrees
says
was
never
the
forget
way
with a
that
big
it was
smile.
phrased is that all of the U.S. is based in these cities, all of the wealth, and that's just simply not true. Now, as Scott said, absolutely, there are brokers out there who invest
all the wealth.
I
various forms of economy.
disagree with that.
There are absolutely ways that that benefit farmers and ranchers, but if the farm fails, right? If the crop doesn't come in, the hedge fund takes a loss, and hopefully it's invested and has enough wealth to cover that loss, and the farmer continues on. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way, and the farms get sold and go out of business, and then we have the effect on the entire country is larger. than if money simply changes hands from one
Come on,
person to
we get
another.
a lot more from cities.
Oh,
than
most
just
of them are owned
money,
by conglomerates, anyways.
It's so, it's so
small
weird.
It's a
farmers,
symbiotic. It's a
thing about
symbiotic
that.
relationship that isn't.
It is a
adequately
symbiotic
measured in GDP.
relationship.
It's a nice
not like
idea.
when
most
the
people just
left just talk,
corporations.
when the left just talks about
That's why I say
GDP as a measure
I'm
of
not
like
just-
cities being more productive. It's like government
That's fine.
jobs are counted in
Yeah.
GDP, right? And all the
Yeah,
government
well,
jobs
come
are
on,
in
come on.
cities.
I'm
Like
not
it
reducing this
doesn't
to just
necessarily
GDP.
mean.
Come on, you did that, not me. I didn't just reduce this to GDP, right? I said it's the engine of our economy.
That was something
And it simply is, right? It simply is the case that it is. But
No.
So
that
is our
doesn't mean
food,
that
so
doesn't
is
mean- hold on,
farmland.
hold on. Oh my God, let me finish, Scott. We've all heard your voice. We got it, right? That doesn't mean that the farms aren't important, right? Like you guys hear that. And you
Well,
think,
you're saying
"Oh,
their
I
votes
spend
aren't as
farmland."
important because they're
let him go,
stupid
let him
people.
finish, let
I
him
think
finish.
that's a really bad thing to say.
They play a critical role in our country. Of course, we need to eat. Obviously, no one. I didn't think I had to say
you're-
that, but
you-
apparently
you're
Hold on, let him
you're
finish, let him finish.
you're
Let him finish.
equating stupidity with
Indeed,
farmers, which
true,
is really a
indeed
bad
it's true,
plan.
but that we need to eat, right? Acknowledged. Okay, I guess now we're all on the same page.
Okay,
But,
I think I get where you're going with this.
understanding
I-
that- I'm understanding that cities are still the engines of our economy. That doesn't change that statement, right? The rural
I don't believe
areas
they're
or
the engines.
farmland
You could
That's
make
the fuel.
You can make
That's
a
the
case
gasoline.
for-
They feed that
You
engine.
could, yeah,
They
you can
feed
make
that
you can make a
engine.
case
But
that they're
it-
gasoline or they are the
That is the
controls
engine.
or something. But without the farms, there is no product.
Oh my
to
God!
sell.
Why are you saying the stupidest thing? I'm sorry, I won't respond to it.
That is not the stupidest thing.
It's
That
too
is
stupid. I've already
literally
answered.
what you said was stupid.
It's too stupid.
What
Well,
I said
just-
was actually
You're
just to, like,
stupid.
just to jump in here, I mean, it might be stupid, like kind of like what you're saying. However, I actually know somebody specifically that is watching this stream right now that has told me before, in regards to relations with Middle East countries, we should just give them a 55. We say, okay, you can keep your oil, we're gonna keep our wheat, and whenever you can eat your oil, when we can eat our wheat, we'll see who wins this in the long run.
Are we talking about Middle East?
Yeah,
Poor
so
baby.
we're not, but like so that I feel like that is applicable to this kind of like logic, right? Because I'm sure that he's sitting here hearing this, thinking the same exact thing. He's going, okay, well if the cities are so important, then okay, then we're just going to follow all their laws and whatever legislation all the time. Then we'll just keep our food, and then we'll see how long before they start starving. You know,
Yeah,
and like I feel like there are people that
and the
think that. I'm
power.
not arguing this.
Those
There are
farm
people-
combines
and
running
power
oil.
generation.
Firstly,
People
I
are listening
heard
to
Middle
saying
East.
this kind of
Let's
thing.
talk about Israel.
No, we're not doing that. But like, listen, I
I
feel like
gathered by, thank you.
yeah, I don't want to do that right now. But like, I think there is a segment of population that this logic appeals to. And how do you convince them that they're wrong on that? Like, what you know?
They're kind of extremists, though. I mean, people who think like that. I mean, let's be honest. This conversation's stupid. Nobody wants Americans to die. Nobody wants a city wiped out. And nobody wants farmers to have less of a voice than anybody
Iran
else.
But it's an
Kind of gone off
insane
course.
statement
One
to say
person, one
that
vote.
farmers should have less of a vote or less of a say than people in cities. That's where
No.
I'm going. That's
One
insane.
person, one
No,
vote.
hold
If
on.
there are less
No.
people,
We have
less people
an equal
vote.
say.
Sorry.
Right? What
Corporations are
Contra just
people,
said,
Fred.
one person, one vote, right?
So-
not one
so-
square kilometer of land, one vote.
Let me counter argue against your actual point, right? I'm going to try and steel man your position, right? And I believe that your position is that, you know, the concept of giving additional voting power towards less populated areas
Hey, leave a like,
is
my 4 people
unfair
watching.
or undemocratic as you see democracy as a value.
I just went from
because
1 to 4,
you know
so
because
I got new
why
people
is
here.
it fair that people certain people have more sway when as a microcosm, as a whole country, as a whole community, we all have unique differences in knowledge and understanding, and that making one people have more political power diminishes that communal will of the people and that voice and that democratic power, right? Like and you're saying that it shouldn't be such that like the Senate and the Electoral College is designed in such a way that it favors less populated states and
like.
regions.
Tell
Is
your
that a good
friends.
steel man of your position?
Tell your mom, even though
I
told her
understand where
already.
you're coming from, right? Obviously, we don't share the same values of democracy, but working within an internal critique and working within the founder's logic, right? The reason that we have this is played out, I think, very well with LA County. And what you have seen over and over and over again in LA County is that because LA County and California has so many people populated in city centers that need water, instead of managing their water properly, instead of having desalination plants, instead of having, especially once they lost bids and certain aspects of like moving water from Colorado, etc. One of the things that they did is they instituted laws against farmers in surrounding areas, and they instituted laws on how much water they could collect and what types of irrigation systems that they were able to use, that large corporations, because of advanced irrigation systems, were allowed to better be able to produce, but poor farmers were not able because they did not have the technology that was capable. And I think what the founders were looking at, maybe not this specific scenario, but I think they were looking at the fact that oftentimes population centers, they become, just as much as farmers are isolated from the way city works, city people are often isolated from those other regions of the country. And when the population is so centered there, that it ends up creating this disparity, and sometimes large population centers will vote away and harm other people, and this is a means of rebalancing that power because of that disparity. As well as the second reason that they did this is that they wanted to ensure that politicians did not simply go visit the 3 most populated cities and then not campaign or not do anything for the rest of the country, because all you would need to do is win LA, win Chicago, win Miami, win New York.
LA or Chicago.
But that's kind of what the
No. I'm giving the present context.
Yeah.
I'm giving the present context, right?
Okay.
That like politicians might, without this additional power to less populated regions, that what you end up with is politicians that then disenfranchise them because they don't need their votes.
I disagree with that framing, right?
No, that would really only affect the president.
That's fair. I'm just trying to steel man.
Sure. Yeah. So I understand what you're saying, and I think you were trying to say something quite fair. But one, I think, and this is the fact of the matter, that the split that the founders foresaw, right, was city versus rural, right? Like heavy population center versus low population center. But that's not actually, like, at least in our current day, it's not really our cultural split, right? We have a difference between
we have suburbs now
and conservatives. But like, yeah, we do have suburbs. But like you can have a conservative population center. Like you can have liberal ones, right? Like it's not strictly evenly divided between cities and non-cities.
But I'm not even talking about Democrat, Republican, or conservative or liberal. I'm talking about regions and why regions have voting power. It's irrelevant.
Hold on. I'm saying the split that they foresaw, right? The founders, right? Like it was true in their time, but it's not true currently in the same way. Now, then you brought up.
How is it not true? I don't understand.
Well, actually, I think
because of just what I just said previously. But whatever.
I
think that's not an argument.
What they saw was landowners and non-landowners.
I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish what I'm going to say. All right, great. So you talked about how the people in rural California, I believe it was, right, with the water thing, how they were disenfranchised. I think that's valid, right? Like we want these people to be heard, but as you've already stated very clearly, which I do agree, right? Democracy doesn't necessarily enfranchise everyone, right? Someone gets screwed.
There's
over
always a
no matter what
loser in democracy.
There's always
Democracy is often
Sure.
losers.
Right,
It's
yeah.
a violent system of oppression.
Not that I want. To be clear, I don't necessarily want rural individuals or people who run farms to be losers. My point is that any benefits we get from the system are far away from the negatives, where we can't actually address the issues that affect the most people and have the biggest impact to our population because of the electoral college, because of the Senate, putting all these things back, right? And furthermore, the last point is that obviously, and I think you might agree with this as well, is that the founders didn't give a fuck about fairness, right? Like they had a skepticism toward democracy, maybe equal to yours, or maybe more, or less so. Right? But they had a
less so.
Yeah, but they have a skepticism towards democracy, right? That's why electoral college, right? Like are worried about the passion of the masses, right? We want to contain that. Also, you got to be white, have to be landed. Like they don't give a fuck about fairness. So once we understand that, and if it's a value within our current society that we do want to be fair, the fairest thing is one person, one vote. Done.
But yeah, they didn't.
Well, actually, they didn't intend
particularly
one
care
person,
about
one vote.
fairness.
Also,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like it was never about fairness. It was about governance that was liberty maximizing, right? Like I understand that Democrats and most Republicans no longer have any sense of patriotism or belief in kind of the vision of America, right? But that's what it was. It wasn't about fairness. It was about what can we do to protect people's rights to the maximum degree and still protect this nation.
I don't know
because
how does this liberty maximize?
for the very reason that I explained, right, which is that you didn't want population centers that would be able to outvote separate cultures or communities that had less voting power, so they tried to figure out a way to rebalance that with the electoral college system. And that's also why that's also why we didn't have direct election of senators, but senators were meant to be appointed by the state.
But Scott, how do you judge more liberty? If it's the case, right? And we're gonna like simplify our current conflict, right? If it's the case that there is a small group of people keeping denying the will of a large group of people, right? Like my expression of liberty is that I want these sets of rights, right? I want.
I agree. I totally agree with you. Right? It's a contradiction. So is your belief. But they're both contradictions.
But I never said that like mine is liberty maximizing. You specifically say this maximizes liberty, but if less people get to express their liberty, right? Their liberty express.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that it does maximize liberty. What I'm saying is that the intention was to maximize liberty. So they're trying to find potential pitfalls where what they're trying to avoid is 51% of the population being able to impose their will on 49% of the population. And so they're recognizing that rural communities or smaller states and things of that nature should not be disenfranchised by large population centers. But at the same time, they're also recognizing that large population centers have more people in them. And so they're trying to balance that power. Their belief system was of checks and balances. Their belief system was like, look, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the forms of government and we're going to try and balance all of them. So we're going to have a presidency that is very similar to a monarchy. We're going to have a Senate that represents the elite class. We're going to have a House of Representatives that represents the direct will of the people, and then we're going to have a judicial branch of elites that are going to try and keep us within the framing of this document. And all of these things are going to be checks and balances, so that no one aspect of this country's government gets too powerful and starts to impose things that disenfranchise other people. That's their concept.
Well, hold on. There's another thing that you have to factor in here. I think, like just for this though, that is unrelated to the liberty maxing, and I think it has to do with what y'all were kind of talking about earlier, and which was how America's more like a body, right? Prime mentioned that the cities are the engine, while like somebody else mentioned the agriculture is like whatever, right? Like they form different roles, right? And I think this is kind of why I was bringing up the geography thing earlier, and I wanted to see where y'all were going with it. But y'all really haven't touched on this, and it's the like kind of I don't know if utilitarian is the right word, but the idea that there's going to be areas that shouldn't be governed by other areas just due to geography, right? Like you wouldn't want the city where they don't understand the needs out here deciding the needs for the people that are going to produce the food or the raw materials that are going to go into the city. You want the people that are the experts in that, the people that do this for have done this for generations to do that. You want them to those people to kind of be that. And then when you get to the city, you also don't want these people out in the ag world who don't understand. And there's going to be times where there's a clash, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing that you find a compromise. But I think that was the original intent, because you have to remember the Constitution comes after the Articles of Confederation, right? They've already dealt with some of these kind of things and seen where it didn't work, and I think this is kind of a natural evolution.
Virginia and Maryland almost went to a currency war.
Right. So whenever y'all are talking about liberty max, I think that is a role in this. I think that's part of the checks and balances. But I also think there's the actual function aspect of running a country as a whole, where you're individual parts working together, as opposed to
I think there's also
different
one last thing.
Yeah, I mean Madison was more.
You go ahead, Price.
Just very quick. Something also to remember is that when the Constitution was written, our population distribution was completely different, right? There was a lot more people in those rural areas and being farmers, right? So much more of our population were farm workers, right? This was more even split. I'm curious, right? If the the founders were working with our current split, right? Something that looks more like today, if they would have thought the same thing, right? Because
Probably
like
not, no.
just like our
They
friend
certainly wouldn't have
Gibbs,
been a one-to-one democracy.
when
Yeah,
I
let's
friend
finish, we're
Gibbs,
gonna go grid.
yeah, almost done, very quickly. Like what our friend Gibbs talked about, right? Like he said he showed the DFW map, right? Dallas Fort Worth map, and then he's like, well, like this out in terms of population, this outranks 30 other states, right? Like just like in and of itself. And so when we're dealing with such an extreme imbalance, right? I feel like we would like if we're working on a new system created today, there's no way you would design it this way.
For
It's
sure.
something to keep in mind.
They tar and feather and kill all of you because they did that for people that were doing 3% tax.
Let's go to grid. Yeah,
They'd
yeah.
call you all. They'd be with me 100%.
Blackwood.
They'd be grabbing the guns to make
Oh, yeah,
sure
but
all of your
yeah,
politicians were dead.
Well, it's a really
They
interesting
murdered
thing
me too.
because
Sorry,
we
Cass,
seem to
sorry.
keep,
Who don't
We'll
do
go to you
shit.
after
Yeah.
that. Sorry, Cancel. Go ahead.
yeah, we seem to keep forgetting that originally only people that could afford to vote could vote, right? Like that's what the founders did. Is they
Property
said you
owners.
either have to be a landowner or you have to pay a poll tax to be able to vote because at that point only
No, poll taxes were introduced
That's
later.
only some
to
states.
disenfranchise
You're right.
blacks.
You're right.
But it
Yeah,
was
we're
but it
running
was
low on time
originally
here.
Not just for
landowners.
black.
No,
It's also
no,
for
Because you
no,
needed
no,
a
no,
deed
no,
to
no.
prove that you
Hold
live
on,
in
No,
the
hold
area.
on.
this isn't true. This is a gish
just
gallop
hold on,
here.
just
It was
hold
in
on.
some states it was landowners. Other states
Hold on,
let
just-
women vote.
Just a housekeeping thing, because I do have like a hard out at 9:30. I want to go salsa dancing. So we're gonna
Oh,
just
yeah,
try
I'm
to go
sorry.
through these people. Let's not interrupt them so we can get through this because I know we're running close on time. So Grid, go ahead.
Well, at any
and then
rate-
we're gonna go to Lactoid and Castle, and then we can open up a little.
At any rate, the founders didn't intend everyone to vote. They certainly didn't. They certainly were very much concerned about people who lived in the cities being able to vote against the people who lived or supplied their everything from different farms, and they were farmers themselves to some degree. Washington was anyway, and
to some degree, he's doing a lot of heavy lifting there, kind of like on the backs of black slaves.
right. Well, I mean, I don't want to come out and say it, but but at any rate, I think. Well, I mean, also the indentured servants. We can't forget those guys. And I just think that it's kind of disingenuous to say that even in modern times that, first of all, I don't necessarily believe that everyone should be able to vote, not even citizens. I've come to that conclusion over the years, and certainly not everyone in cities. I've lived in a lot of cities, and I just don't. They're not necessarily all the smart people there. So,
I mean, there's not necessarily all the smart people everywhere. I mean,
Let's go to Lactoid and Castle, and then
I think y'all know
Yeah,
everything.
I'm gonna say a couple things. I agree with the idea that there is not a lot of, or there are not smart people throughout the world, and the idea that they should have equal say in governance to smart people, I think is pretty ridiculous. So I'm on board with that. Limiting voting through some kind of like IQ test or other kind of comparable like way of measuring health. I'm okay with that. In fact,
Education levels?
Poll exams have been actually have gone to the Supreme Court, and they have not been struck down as unconstitutional.
How about
as of
literacy
the last
tests?
time?
You bigot.
They have not been struck down. They have not been struck down. Now
Half of
it's
mega
been a
profits
while.
need 3 branches of government, so I don't know.
I will say
Texas has an opportunity to do the funniest thing right now.
it's been a long time since that Supreme Court case went through the last one. It's been a long time, but as of the last one, you could have some kind of intelligence
Poorly
test.
educated.
So I'm okay with that. I am a lot more skeptical, actually, of restrictions when it comes to like isolated cultural groups or entire demographics of people. I think as America, we should probably be skeptical of that, given that one of our concerns that we had in forming this country was we don't get a say in the parliament. So that's kind of bullshit. So we should be able to leave. So I do think that there is a kind of a valid concern of, a kind of a separate cultural or geographical area who is denied some kind of representation, being upset about that. And I'm more sympathetic to that than saying, well, everybody within all society should vote, because I mean, within any given like area, within any given culture, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who probably shouldn't be having equal say to the top stock of those areas when it comes to dictating policy. But one of the things that that we haven't really gotten around to that I want to talk about, which was kind of the flip side here of this gerrymandering that is sort of taken to, even though it benefits both Democrats and Republicans depending where you are, generally is seen to benefit Republicans more, is the fact that illegal immigrants are counted on the census, and the census is used to apportion votes, electoral college votes, and other other forms of political representation. Explain to me that, like, this part really doesn't make sense to me. Regardless of whether or not you think illegal immigration is really that big of a deal, or we should be enforcing it a whole bunch, there does seem to be something odd about giving voting power, essentially, like giving voting weight to a group of people, thus incentivizing something that this country has made illegal, through like legally incentivizing something that this country has made illegal. Why should it be the case that you're incentivized by bringing in as many illegal immigrants as possible?
So just I'll answer this very quickly because I know Gibbs got to leave, right? Lactoid. I think it's also just as weird to give weight to land, right? Like that's a weird thing that we do within our country, but we give weight to land, right?
I just said I was skeptical of that
than anything else. And then secondly, right, is that, well, the reason why this wasn't an answer to the question within our Constitution is because we didn't have the idea of illegal immigration at that point in time, right? Like this is a brand new concept within our history, right? And so, like, yeah, I'll just go leave it there.
Well, Prime, that's not very convincing because you're sort of appealing to what is as opposed to the normative claim, right? Because we also allowed redistrict, like gerrymandering right now, but I'm guessing you're against it because you say, despite the fact that
I'm not saying that I am against it anymore. I've heard, like, actually,
now you're in favor of it. Okay.
Let's go to Castle. He's been waiting here. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
we're going to wrap up after that real quick. So go ahead, Castle. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just waiting.
Sure, I'll make it quick. I want to take it back to your point, Gibbs, just about the geographical way we could look at things. And I think if you think about the future of the country and the way it's changed over just the last 50, 30 years or whatever, the Democratic, Farm and Labor Party of Minnesota was representing the farmland, and now it's representing more of the cities. So I think we're seeing just a shift of how America is as a country. We're more of a service country. We're doing less farming. The farms are owned by big conglomerates. Same with manufacturing. There are less manufacturing jobs. So more of this country is going to be represented by a service economy. More of those people are going to be moving in the city. So I think as the years go on, you're going to have a dwindling and shifting population in these rural counties that are actually going to be represented by farming or agriculture, and it's going to shift. And I think that's why you have to kind of have it more of a representative democracy based on population, which is what I think Prime is kind of alluding to a little bit. So over the future of this country, we're just going to see less and less farming, a lot of more free trade with countries that do this at a much cheaper rate, which we've done before. And that's kind of the way that the economy is going to keep pushing up and moving up. If you want a more populist kind of government, which is what I think Trump is kind of trying to do, and trying to rebound the labor market that way through tariffs and whatnot, you can try that out. I think we've seen other countries do that, and it doesn't work out so great in the long term, but that's really the only other way you can kind of get around the eventual future of the U.S., I think.
All right, let's go to Tyler. We'll start us out with outros, and let's make it brief, and tell them where to find you with final thoughts. Go ahead, Tyler.
All right, so we heard all the best points tonight that weren't from me. Start with, as Tyler was saying, as always, it is what it is. So, gerrymandering, as long as everyone's got the same tools, whatever. Did
anybody say that?
Yes, you did actually as well. And you copied my intro point about gerrymandering making districts weaker too. So, but as going into the second point,
anyway.
We never got really into illegal immigration, but I have a study that actually uses the highest estimate of illegal immigrants, and it said maybe at best 4 votes are displaced in favor of the Republicans. Granted, they'll gain 4 House seats if they were all not counted in the census, but it's not that big of a deal, I feel like. A lot of this is just because we're kind of in a slow news cycle and nobody wants to dive into the more complicated political subjects like the inception of Crossfire Hurricane. That's a huge one that it takes hours and days to learn. So now we're arguing about gerrymandering for the, 9th time in the last 15 years. I don't know, there's not much that hasn't been said already a million times about it. So everything I said was right. If you disagree with me, I'm sorry that you were wrong. And I just switched over to YouTube. I have like a tiny handful of followers and only 4 viewers. So average debate enjoyer on YouTube, hit me up because like I need it now.
I follow him, chat, and you should too.
Castle.
Or subscribe, sorry.
Yeah, I think people made some good points earlier today, just about the whole quorum thing and how things that could be changed there. So I think that got me thinking a little bit overall, and based on how gerrymandering is done today, I'm still not really seeing the benefits of it, if there are any. And I think some of the arguments there worked up until a point. But overall, I just think, and like I said earlier in my intro statement, that we're just leading to more partisanship the way this is going. And I think, if the Republicans do it, the Democrats are going to do it against them just to even things out. Like Ika said, it's, at the end of the day, if everybody's doing it, maybe we just get back to a 50-50 House of Representative popular vote anyway. So might just not make a difference. But yeah, if you want to find me in my socials, Castle Guard YT on X, similarly on YouTube as well, CASSELL Guard YT. But yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate being on the panel with you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Fabian.
Yep, I am Fabian Liberty on YouTube and X primarily. By those handles, I'm an anarcho-objectivist. Libertarian ANCAP, objectivist philosophy, debates, interviews, things like that. So, I want to say a few things. IQ, you're right. To some of the lefties, you're absolutely right. The IQ is centered in the cities. I would also argue that data seems to suggest that wisdom is centered in more rural areas. I also want to say that landowners being able to vote would probably backfire against conservatives in a pretty major way. The boomers may have voted in this last election 53% for Trump, but they supported Biden in both of the last elections. And, they supported him initially and they supported him when he was the candidate before Harris came in. As well as boomers were the reason that Carney won in Canada as opposed to Pierre Poilievre. It's Gen Z, it's the non-landowners that have been fucked over by the boomers and their policies to try and fuck over the housing market and center all of their wealth on them that have been shifting towards the Democrats, because the Democrat policies are designed to maintain the wealth in the corporate elite and to fuck over the small working man. As far as like this concept of like, well, we're seeing less farming, so maybe the rural area is less important. I think that is a misunderstanding of what is meant and understood. It's a very like, I've lived in the city my whole life take, because rural America is not just farming or cattle. It's a completely different culture for a variety of different reasons. And I think maybe that is the future, that more and more people go into the cities. But I think with the housing market, with the ability to work from home, with AI, with increased productivity in labor, being able to predict that is almost an impossibility, especially as this corporate daycare, DEI job bullshit continues. I don't know how long that system is going to last in America, where we just stay this wonderful, everyone works a 9-to-5 job where they don't do anything but answer emails and make tons of money. For the illegal immigrants, maybe we can talk about this some other time, Gibbs, or something. I'd be interested to talk with you about it, because we didn't get really into it. I'll just say this. Illegal immigrants are counted on the census, and that absolutely adds towards sanctuary cities and Democrat, strongholds, and gives them more representation in our government that are non-citizens, so that they can get more funding and money, but primarily so they can get more votes. And I worked on the census as a field supervisor for the state of Virginia, northern Tennessee, and most of Appalachia and West Virginia, with the exception of like Nova and Newport News area. I was a quality control census field supervisor, so that was kind of my region. And then I also worked on the post-enumeration survey under Biden. And I will say this, when Biden came in, there was a lot of shifty things that happened. They took away our computers. They made us do all our paper. They made us do everything by hand and paperwork and use FedEx so that we could mail things. They did everything they could to ensure that illegal immigrants that don't exist were counted on the census, so that they could go to apartment complexes and then just get numbers of how many apartments there were and then count all of those apartments as filled in the cities so that we could count more numbers in Democrat-controlled areas. And they did everything they could to stop quality control from being able to function and be able to find out just how much fraud is in the census. So you say it's only 4 seats. But I say, from my own experience, having worked on the field, that we don't know how many seats it might actually be, and that there's a lot of fraud in that system, and it's almost certainly maybe 5 or 6 seats. And if it's 6 seats, well, that's more than the entire redistricting problem in Texas, isn't it?
All right, Rick, out to you.
Yeah, so, if you have any more sources for that beyond your personal experience, that'd be cool, considering, you know, if there were shifty changes back and forth in computers and this and that, there's clearly going to be, you know, more records, more sources, more people talking about this. So if that exists, like, I'd like to take a look at that, sure. Other than that,
I don't know.
Sure. Other than that, I'm Premier Katya on X, and also you could just find me around in the politics space on Discord. Yep. Have a great rest of y'all's day.
All right, thank you so much. Lactoid.
Lactoid, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Fantastic. Hi, Cal.
Okay, so I think we can go past a lot of the theoretical points that are being made right now and just say, hey, let Texas do what it's going to do. Those lawmakers are coming back home anyway. Let California do what it's going to do. I just posted an analysis that shows that the map that they're looking at now could flip up to 11 seats in California, actually. And it really only needs to do 5 in order to balance out Texas. But regardless of whatever the outcomes are going, there are Republicans already that don't want this, that don't want all of this to happen. There's Kylie in California who's one of the Republican delegation coming out of California. The entire Republican delegation out of California is trying to figure out a way to stop this. Kylie has introduced his own bill in order to make it illegal to redistrict in the middle of the decade. You can only do it after a census triggers it. And then Lawler in New York is doing the same thing. He's introducing a similar bill that has the support of the New York Republican delegations. So it looks like there's going to be basically blue state Republicans everywhere don't want this to happen. They're very nervous about it. So I think that in terms of the party balance, I think we're going to end up about where we are now. I think everything's going to balance out, but we'll still be way worse off because now there's going to be far more safe districts than there were before. And that's my real issue, is not which party controls those districts so much, but as to how much the people who get elected into those districts fear a primary versus fearing a general. That's it.
All right, thank you, Grit.
Yeah, so you can find me at An Unreasonable Man on YouTube and Twitch. It's an interesting conversation. I like how that the engine of the country has been losing people for hand over fist since 2020. There's an significant out-migration into rural areas, shockingly enough, and I just don't really see how this is going to play out well for the cities in the future, to be honest. I think people are tired of living on top of each other. As far as the gerrymandering and the fleeing, I actually support the use. I came in kind of neutral on this, but I'm okay with the FBI going out, wrangling up these politicians, bringing them back to Texas, and having the vote, and then just catch and release, just let them go. Other than that, obviously we didn't really get into some of the other meat of the discussion I thought we would, and that's okay. as always, been a great time. Thanks, Gibbs, for having me. It's been a lot of fun to sit here and listen to some people to talk and learned a couple of things and made some decisions actually. So always good, always fun. You guys have a great night.
Let's go to Prime.
First, I thank the participants. Thank everyone for coming out, having a fun discussion. So shout out to that. Shout out to people I know, and hello to those I don't know. Hope you guys. Glad to meet you, basically. And I think it's very lucky that Gibbs invited me because I'm the only one with the tenacity to deal with Scott's overbearing rhetorical strategies. Right, like I don't know how we have a conversation here if it's not me like actively countering Scott on every chance that I get. Well, thank God that I'm here, right? And lastly,
just name one fallacy I did, buddy.
No, you didn't do any fallacies though. I'm just saying that like you take control of the conversations and I can deal with you. But lastly, I think it seems that my conservative friends are quite upset over this undocumented immigrants thing, right? And saying that hey, like it gives undocumented immigrants give voting weight, and that seems unfair. Okay, I can agree, especially since undocumented immigrants aren't contributing, right? I think they should just become documented to solve that. But let's say we didn't want to do that, right? I know you guys don't want to do that. Well, the other way, I think we can come to a compromise, right? I would gladly remove undocumented immigrants from the census, right, and removing their power if we reformed the Senate, if we got rid of the Electoral College, right, reform the Senate to being a smaller version of the House, basically. If we did something like that, that would be awfully fair, I think. If my conservative friends wouldn't take that bargain, right, then you realize that you'd be losing more than you would gain there, right? You'd realize just how valuable land is and how much the Senate is a massive weight against your political opponents there, right? One that just simply is not matched by undocumented immigrants within the city. So, like, let's consider that.
Oh, we got 5
don't
now.
agree,
Hit the like
let me know
button
where you stand.
while you're here. Spread the news.
Oh, also,
tell your friends.
Yeah, find me.
Tell your brothers and your sisters. Don't tell your mom. I told her already.
Find me. We'll do debates, right? I'll yell at Scott there too, right? And it'll be a lot of fun.
And it's the econ panel next week, right? Then we're gonna actually talk about each other. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, and last but not least, but maybe least in speaking time, I gotta say, Vigilante, you were too disruptive. You spoke way too much this whole time. Next time, just quiet down a little bit. All right, just No, I'm just kidding. Tell us who you are. What your final thoughts are. Maybe get a word in now.
Yeah, I know. I have a problem with being too fucking quiet. Generally speaking, I think we actually heard some pretty good opinions from Scott, which is something I very rarely ever say. Especially when it comes down to the just forcing the votes. Like I said, I heavily agree with that. I also think Lactoid hit on something that would probably be a good idea that I don't necessarily think would go in the way that he thinks it would. I think we should probably use the citizenship test as your proposed test to be able to vote. I just don't think that would go the way that you think it would. On the illegal immigration or illegal immigrants being able to be counted for votes, I generally don't think we should. It's the same reason we really shouldn't have fucking counted slaves for voting power in the past. It's if they can't vote, they shouldn't be counted. And you can find me at the Vigilante TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
All right, thank y'all so much. It's been a great panel. I'm gonna go ahead and rate Grid here so that maybe we can try to get him affiliated. He's on the hunt for affiliate.
I appreciate
help him
that,
out, guys. Yeah, we'll get him there. So check it out. Let's get it monetized everywhere, because that way we can all make more money, and we're all capitalists. All right, but thank y'all so much, guys.
I'm a capitalist. I'm a
filthy
capitalist.
I'll hit y'all out next week and stuff. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Yeah, and to my audience, if you're because I'm not on Twitch anymore. If you go on Twitch from time to time, make sure you subscribe to or follow. Sorry, Grid.
Yeah, appreciate
I
that.
forgot you're on there, dude.
Where's everybody going?
What's that?
I forgot he's on Twitch now.
Well, the panel's over, so a lot of people, they're salty.
Yeah,
from
I gotta go
arguments.
too, but I was, I like to argue. Hey,
all I've heard thus far is we want to give IQ the conservatives want to give IQ tests and more power to
I
the
didn't
boomers.
say that.
And I've never heard. He's Lactoid said IQ tests.
No,
I was
Lactoid
like,
did-
and
Lactoid
you
did
said
say IQ
boomers,
tests, which was
and I'm just like,
terrible,
dude,
yeah.
dude, we're gonna have a Democrat country for the rest of the fucking until.
Yeah, no, that's why. Scott, that's
It's like
literally
we're
why I
gonna
said in my
only give it
outro.
to high IQ landowners. All right, that's not gonna work for us.
He's the only
It's literally just gonna be
conservative, though.
Democrat voting landlords.
Like, the only true
Yeah,
conservative is Grid,
again-
though, right? Other than Gibbs.
Scott, that's
I
why I
don't know,
put
Republican.
Lactoid
I would
in
say
my
Grid,
outro because like
Grid is the only the Republican. Like I would say both myself and Lactoid are conservative. We're just not Republicans.
They're definitely not
I mean,
Republican.
like I believe
I
in
go to all the
order-based
meetings,
politics.
they're
I
never
believe in the
there.
iron law of oligarchy. I believe in like the entropic law of nature and of man. Like I believe in many of the things that you would say are conservative values, and limited government, especially economically, tends to put me where Republicans pretend they are.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the whole engine of the country thing was like that was weird for me.
Dude, he said he wasn't using GDP, and it's like, dude, you're using.
All right. We're all done. Want to watch some Breaking Bad and eat some shrimp? Well, I probably should eat the shrimp in there, to be honest. But, huh? We're probably, I mean, whatever we eat, if we don't eat both tonight, we gotta throw them away. Both those seafoods, I am not eating those 5 days in. Shrimp? Yeah, we could probably eat the pasta tomorrow, but I'm not eating that octopus tomorrow. It was kind of today, yesterday. It was getting a little stanky. So I don't have to go back to the office till Tuesday because I'm on the fucking road all Friday and Monday. I don't know if you should drive around with me tomorrow because I gotta go to the office and stuff for a bit. I don't want Mark to see you coming with me everywhere. But Monday you definitely can, and we can go to the city.
Tulukan lang, natugno kay dire. Daman, si Kuan, pagdaligsik. Mga buhi na to na kung tanong kay wala ini. Mga buwak. Wala, sumili ha, mga buwak. Kaya ako yung magputo, wala akong yung tulong, ako yung bagin. Para manaha, kay doon yung mga naong. Yan eh, balino lang, pananak ko sila. Hindi ko kabalon sa ulit kung balhin ang kanong mga baglo ko. Namatay pala. Ay, kuan ko papel. Hindi ko papel. Kanya sa ulit pagbalhin na eh. Kanya nga, sa ingani sa kunaon. Kambo kayo na Lapyo na kayo. Wala ko kabalo, pa ko nagbalin ani. Wala mi saha. Ako pa nimo ni saha. Mabuhi ra. Motoro pa mi siya. Dali ra ni mabuhi. Okay, ngadlo ko lapyo kayo. Ko kayo ng dahon gon. Kani kay balin na panan ako. Gagmay tong cute na tori. Daghan kayo. Kana murag unong nakabog akong punuan anak kay na isa ka kaanak puno og saha akong giputol. Kanina ginala sa ko yung ani daghan. Luoy kayo ang iyang kuan o. Ya ang tuwanga. Unsa din ni? Oh, manaw, luoy kayo kay sensitive kayo wag gid dako. Hapit na yung namatay. May kaninang kan ka ako. Oh. Ano ay bunot ni no. Ay bunot diri. Mo na ni kadako. Luoy na kayo. Oh, mo pa na yung dahon nito kung bag-o. So, pag-abot na ako, hapit na yung namatay. Napag ko, ang buwan akong init. Then, gigdalan ko sulod. Pero na, lindot yan yung dako na eh. Puro plastic. Umbot siya na, nakalimot ko. Wala ni plastic, ang dako. Mamatay ni Dal. Kani, okay, cute. Minsan kayo yung awan na ito. Kagag may. Dili, awan na yung gisudlan. Cute, anak, gamatoy kayo. Manahon ka mo to. Wala siya sleep lang. Pero kanang gamatoy kayo. Ang photos niya. Yung photos niya. Ang gisangit niya. Tapos mabaw. Ibang bagay ako buwak sa kore. Ito kung makita.
Oh shit! I'm still live.